everyone. If you guys can hear the words that are coming out of my mouth, just go ahead and say yes, loud and clear. We have a great lineup for you today, Seth. It's inevitable. No matter what time we start, we always get everyone coming in like 5-6 minutes late. So this audience is going to build here over the next few minutes. And I'll tell you what, I know who the first speaker is. I just spoke to him. I met this first speaker in January of last year at the ASGTG conference in Brooklyn, New York. And to be honest, his company is it's amazing. We got to hang out in Brooklyn together. Went on tour with him around the U.S. and also many stops in Europe. And what Mike's doing and what he's going to share today is going to be, for lack of a better word, Seth, life-changing for a lot of Amazon entrepreneurs out there. And that's what we like to do. Seth and I are coming up. We're showing up once a month on the Masterclass, bringing you experts and mentors from around the industry. And the idea is for you to walk away today with a few golden nuggets from each and every speaker. We have, 5 speakers today, Seth?
Yeah, we have a full lineup today, Sean. So we get feedback all the time like, hey, I really appreciated the master classes because I picked up a handful of things that I can implement this month, and every month we bring back on experts. But what's funny is yesterday, Sean, somebody reached out on WhatsApp and they said, hey, there was a really good strategy that I saw back in April. Can you send me the master class from April? And it was like, wow, like you remember that masterclass having such a big impact. And they said, where can I get the rest of these? And guys, if you want to know where to get the rest of these, it's just postpurchasepro.com/MC for masterclass. So Sean, let's officially MC. Let's jump into this so we can get started. So guys, officially, welcome to the Post Purchase Pro monthly masterclass. We have a few really important updates to cover, but I just wanted to remind you, just as Sean said, every month we're bringing you the best of the best from around this industry to share their best strategies, because that's what we're here for. We're here to add value to your business. The format is 2 to 5 guest speakers, maybe 6 or 7 sometimes if we have a full month. Each speaker is going to share for between 20 and 45 minutes typically. Typically, it's going to be e-commerce and Amazon specific. Sometimes, though, we like to push the boundaries a little bit and get outside of your box thinking, brought right in front of you. We want to let you know, though, that literally the only reason why we do this is to help you. We never accept any commission from any of the speakers. They can't pay to be here. We invite them to come. So just so you know, we're not getting paid to allow their message to be in front of you. So you can be sure that if we bring somebody on, it's because we think it's important and we think it's going to help you. So if you're not in one of our WhatsApp groups, I really appreciate the feedback and everything that we get in the WhatsApp groups, but we drop, strategies and hacks and stuff in there, current events and things going on in the Amazon and e-commerce world once or twice a week, typically. So you can join the groups. They do fill up. Join a group at joinprivategroup.com, or you can just scan that QR code and jump right into the WhatsApp group. Like I said, maybe one hack isn't for you because you've already done it, but stick around because we're going to send another one later in the week, probably, that may really be beneficial. We have a really, really important announcement. If you haven't heard, and I know there's kind of been, rumors around, but essentially what we've had to do is close down letting in new clients to Post Purchase Pro. We're not taking new clients. This means that we're at capacity. We cannot take any more sellers into our program, Post Purchase Pro. There are just too many sellers out there that need our help, and we can't do all of the work at once. So we are closed to outsiders right now. But I didn't want to just leave you there and say, good luck. We did bring good news. We're going to share the entire system that we use in our businesses. The email system, text follow-up system. We're going to do that on October 25th. What this looks like is the exact email and text marketing and WhatsApp group marketing that we use to drive results in Amazon businesses to boost sales, increase profit margins, drive high-quality external traffic, increase the value of our brands and businesses, launch products successfully every single time, get tons of TOS compliant reviews on your products. That's tough to get, isn't it? Increase repeat orders and cross sales, relaunching struggling products. If you have a dud product, what do? Well, if you have a list of text, phone numbers, and email marketing that you can use, you can drive sales wherever you need it. You can relaunch struggling products. You can get your products ranked on Amazon, lower your overall PPC cost because you're converting at a higher rate and you're ranking higher. And then essentially what we're doing is giving away all of the secret strategies that turn businesses into profit machines that we have never shared before. So if you want in, you have to get in before it's full, because unfortunately, Zoom does limit the number of registrations that we can handle. Here's what you need to do real quick before we officially jump into the masterclass. Do this first. Go to postpurchasepro.com/revealed, or you can scan that QR code, and we're going to share all of the step-by-step how-to of how you can actually plug email, text, WhatsApp marketing straight into your Amazon business to produce the biggest results. Sean, anything to add there before we move in?
No, buddy, I think you did a good job. So go grab your spot there. We're under contractual obligation to only allow a limited number of sellers, and you have several weeks to get ready for it, but don't wait till the last minute to register or you won't be able to get in. This is going to be 100% free for you to join, and it's specifically for Amazon sellers. So let's bring Mike out of the back room. Mike,
yes.
You ready, buddy?
Let's jump right in. Our first speaker today is Mr. Mike Fake from Avast. Mike, I'll let you do a little bit of an intro there and then jump right into the strategies that you brought for us today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today. And what a room to be in with Seth and Sean. I remember exactly that meeting where we first met, Sean, and it was a fantastic event.
Yes, it was. Can't wait to do it again, Mike.
Exactly.
The floor is yours, my friend. Enjoy, everyone.
Thank you so much. So my name is Mike. I'm head of partnerships here at Avast. Avast, we are an e-commerce accounting company, but beyond e-commerce accounting, we obviously help you to grow and build your brands across borders. So if you're looking to expand your business across borders, it really does help to obviously be in touch with a company like Avast, because we can obviously help you with things like the indirect taxes that you'll find if you're coming over to Europe. We can help you with all of the things like OSS, IOSS, EPR. We can provide a one-stop solution to help you expand into Europe and do it successfully. And what I'm here today to talk about is those expansion strategies that'll help you to basically go into Europe and see Europe or beyond. What do the global marketplaces look like, and how can you effectively manage those strategies to expand your business into new business? And one of the key things I think is to mention is now is the right time if you're going to do it, because we're starting to come into the point where you've got Q4 just around the next corner. It's not long before you've got Black Friday, then Cyber Monday, and then you're into the holiday season. So it really is a fantastic opportunity to start expanding your business, and you can do it in 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the country and depending on where you're going to be locating yourself. Okay, so what I'm going to do, if that's okay, is I'm going to start by sharing my screen. So give me just 1 second. So you should be able to see that now. I think it's saying that my share screen is loading.
There you go, Mike. Go ahead. We've got
fantastic. I think I might have done this before. So yeah, as I said, global expansion. We'd like to say, and I'm gonna launch straight into this from the beginning. There are 8 steps that you need to do to expand internationally, and those 8 steps, depending on where you're expanding to, those 8 steps can look something like this. So obviously, your first step to do market research, and I'm going to drill down into all of these throughout the course of this session. But so first step, obviously, is do your market research. Second, we're going to cover, do we need to set up a company overseas? 3 would be knowing your finances and doing cost analyses. 4 is setting up a foreign exchange account. 5 is being compliant with the local rules. 6 is where to store your goods, whether you're going to do that with FBA on Amazon, whether you're going to use a 3PL or perhaps another option. Number 7 is going to be localize your listings. And number 8 is obviously thinking global, which is obviously the way to build your next 7 to 8 figure brand. Okay, so I'm going to jump straight into doing your market research. What you basically need to do is when you're considering any expansion strategy, especially into the European Union or into the UK or beyond, what are the needs of the online shoppers that you would like to meet? So what are their needs and where are they shopping? What product would sell easily online? I mean, this is again very key. Depending on what product you're selling, depends on which marketplace or even which country you're going to decide that you're going to sell into. For example, if you're selling fashion items, you might consider shopping in Italy, for example, or putting your products onto the Italian marketplaces, because fashion and apparel are the best possible. They're also the first products that you'd see, and they're the most popular ones to sell online. If you're looking at somewhere like electronics, you might consider, for example, the UK, or you might also consider Germany, for example. Again, 2 fantastic opportunities there. So what products are you selling? And that will help you to tailor your strategy, because you'll need to then decide which countries you're going to be selling in and exactly what products you're going to sell in those countries. Also, you need to consider, how do the UK and EU customers buy products? Is it on one marketplace or is it on multiple marketplaces? Do they buy by searching through Google? Do they utilize social commerce, or do they just go to Amazon? You know, you need to consider all of these factors when you are setting up and expanding your business across borders. And of course, do you need to create a website in each EU country? Well, technically no, but again, equally, you need to consider these things depending on what is going on in that country and whether or not your shop is going to be able to facilitate multi-listing translations and things like that. So really getting to the crux of it, doing your market research is the first key to the success of your expansion plans. The next thing I've got to talk about is, do you need to set up a company overseas? Well, if you're based in the US, you can effectively trade from your own country. So you don't need to start registering in the UK or the EU. You don't need to be domiciled here either. So that is absolutely paramount to consider is, do I need to register? And the answer for UK and EU is no. And it also brings some great benefits of when you're actually going to be trading in the UK and the EU, because there are a lot of similarities with the current markets you might already be trading in, like, for example, the US. Also, one of the things that I've got to talk about here is when setting up your eShop overseas, you might want to consider the diversification benefits of not sticking to one platform, because what happens if you get suspended in one of the countries? It could be that you do wish to then protect yourself by ensuring you've got multiple options. And of course, brand awareness. You've built a successful brand already in your home marketplace. Do you need to start considering whether or not you need to diversify that brand, or whether you want to build on it into a global phenomenon? So obviously, when you're looking to expand a business, there are varying different types of costs that you need to consider. And depending on what you're going to do, we've kind of thrown a brief guide to what you can approximately be looking to be spending when you're expanding. So market research subscriptions, that's around $50 a month per prescription, depending on the provider. Shipping costs, however, plus the duties, plus the incidental costs, is it going to be 2 pallets, 1 destination, or 1 pallet, 2 destinations? So you need to bear those things in mind when you are starting to set those things up. Roughly about $2,000 to $3,500, depending on provider, the speed, the pallet type, and the packing processes. Shipping and replenishment time, obviously, you need to consider that as a part of your online business. How long is it going to take to get additional stock into these marketplaces? And obviously, when you're considering things like compliance aspects, you've got to do things like registering for EORI numbers, and that allows you to drop your goods across the border into the UK and into the EU. That's about $250, depending on which country you decide to register in, and that $250 is obviously a one-off fee. And then you've obviously got the compliance aspects, such as VAT, similar to sales tax, but VAT is our version of that. And you need to also bear in mind, when you're doing the costings and when you're building your cost matrix, you need to ensure that you remember to include VAT in that, because we obviously, when we sell products online in Europe and in the UK, all of our figures are inclusive of VAT, whereas I think in the US it's exclusive. So that's one of the things you've got to get into your head, and you've got to, so it's kind of a bit of a paradigm shift when you're coming from the US to the EU, for example. Roughly around $4,000 approximately per year for those sorts of compliance aspects. And then, of course, you've got to consider things like your Amazon selling fees, your advertising costs, opening an FX account. So if you are trading in US dollars at the moment, opening an FX account will actually help you in the long run, because what that will enable you to do is that will enable you to basically trade in a local currency. So you can be selling products, removing your funds from the local marketplace, and then you can then pay your suppliers in the same currency. So if you've got local suppliers in Europe, you don't want to be transferring stuff from euros back to dollars only to pay again into euros. Just keep it in euros and pay it that way. And also FX rates are a lot less from one of these FX providers than going through your local bank. And then, yes, obviously you've got to consider things like localization costs, which varies depending on the SKUs, the language. So you should budget around $500 to $2,000. So this little cost matrix, it's going to be included in the slide deck. So please feel free to have a look through that. And obviously do feel free to get in touch if you do have any questions about that, or if you need any more assistance with that. Number 4 is setting up a Forex account. So as I mentioned before, setting up a Forex account is very important to be able to do this, because as I said, you can save a lot of costs. There are lots of different providers in there. I mean, we use currently World First Air Wallets and of course Payoneer. Do consider setting one of those up. You can get a lot of benefits from trading in local currencies. It really does save you a lot of money. My next slide is talking about being compliant with local rules. And there are lots of things to consider when you're taking things, say, from the US across to Europe or beyond into the Middle East, into the APAC region. Firstly, product compliance. Are you selling perishable goods, electronics? You may need to consider CE marking on certain goods. That's particularly relevant for electronics. But also you might need to, if you're selling anything like cosmetics, you may also need to get some product compliance. So you need to bear that in mind when you are trading into the European Union or into the UK. You need to obviously register for any import numbers. So when you're coming into the goods, we've got an economic operators resource and identification number, which registration identification number, sorry, which is basically your code, which allows you to import goods into the country. So you need one for the UK, so you're going to need a GB EORI number, and then you're also going to need one EU EORI number. That doesn't mean you need to then get 27 EORI numbers because you're going to be trading across borders in Europe. No, you could just need one to import the goods into Europe, and then you can move the goods freely between in the borders. And you can, of course, once you've activated your EORI number, you can then also clear goods into any port in Europe with that EORI number. We'd always recommend that you ensure that you hire an experienced shipping and customs clearance agent. That will help you to expedite your shipments when they reach the local ports. So if you're bringing goods into the UK, for example, you might want to ensure that the customs clearances and all the documents are in place. So when those goods hit, say, for example, the port of Southampton, they can then clear those goods as quickly as possible. That's less time with your goods sat on the docks, and it's more time of getting them to the actual destination, which could be your Amazon FBA fulfillment center. before you ship your goods, you obviously also need to register for your local tax numbers. So in the US, that's sales tax, but obviously in the UK and the EU and beyond, we call that VAT. So you're going to need a VAT number if you are storing stock in any of those countries. So storing stock, you might do that if you're going into the UK. You'll need to store the stock here locally to be able to obviously sell those goods on FBA or use your own fulfillment channels. Equally, in the EU, if you're storing goods in France and Germany, you're going to need a French and German VAT number, but then you might be trading into all of the other European countries via distance selling, which is absolutely fine as long as that stock isn't stored in those countries. You don't need a VAT number there. Obviously, we recommend that you always protect your brand. So protect your goods with trademarks and brand registry. And then obviously you need to hire specialists in the respective fields. You're an expert in making sure that your business is running smoothly. You might not be an expert in trademarks or VAT or in customs clearance. So don't try and do it yourself because it might slow you down. And when you've got quick timeframes you need to hit, you're going to need to make sure that you've got those things happening quickly. As we go on to where to store my goods. So how would you store your goods? Would you do that through FBA? Would you do 3PL, which is third-party logistics? Or do you want to use another method, like, for example, through your own merchant website or through drop shipping? Well, quite frankly, if you're going to be doing FBA in Europe and the UK, along with quite a few of the other areas, you might find you've got ASIN restrictions. So you might say you're only allowed to bring 100 of your products into the FBA center while you're selling them, and then you might need to bring another 100 in. Well, bringing goods into the country under those circumstances and having to bring 100 in, 100 in, 100 in, that's going to get expensive. So what you'd rather do is do something like get a 3PL in place, ship an entire container load or two across the border and store them in a 3PL and use that 3PL to then drip feed. But not only that, but that also then gives you the opportunity to then diversify onto other marketplaces. So you don't necessarily need to stick with just Amazon. And as I'm going to come on to in a little while, you might realize that Amazon might not be the biggest marketplace in that country where you are, for example. So it could be that you want to keep your options open, and using a 3PL will allow you to then distribute your goods via your own means, and also then you might then also find other marketplaces are opening up to you. And obviously, if you want to drop ship your goods directly from China, the only thing you need to consider at this point of view is how quickly are your clients going to be willing to wait for those products? Are they going to be willing to wait for 3 to 4 weeks, or are they going to be wanting it next day? Now, obviously, in some customizable circumstances, like, for example, if you're doing prints, paintings, or any sort of printing of some sort, you're going to need to obviously then consider that dropshipping might be the easiest way to do it because you're doing a highly customized job. But equally, if it's just a generic product or a product that is not going to necessarily need any form of customization, you should be doing that locally within the country where you're obviously operating from, because it might work out a lot cheaper for you. And then obviously some marketplaces, they've got their own merchants fulfillment channels where you just deliver the goods straight to them, and then voila, they'll take care of that. Okay. My next point obviously goes on to talk about localization. And I mean, when you just look at English, for example, there are wild variances in our language, and that's just between the UK and the US, for example. For example, obviously there's some very, very obvious ones, like trousers are called pants in America, underwear or panties, they're pants or knickers in British English. So if you're selling American pants, trousers, you don't want to be listing them on the British sites as pants. You're going to be wanting to list them because then you'll be ranking amongst underwear. It's the same with sweater and jumper. Jumper is something completely different over in English. And it's the same with vest as well. If you look at an undershirt, we call that a vest. A vest over in America, however, is a waistcoat. So you always need to make sure that you have got localization and make sure that that localization is key. So always deploy a specialist who can help you with translations, and they will help you to then build your listings. And the beautiful thing about that is once you've got your listings localized for a particular language, you can use that on any of the sites. You don't need to just stick it to one. So that's a really quite key thing as well to talk about. And obviously, when you're localizing your listings, don't use automated tools like Google. That doesn't tend to work out very well. You need to use a professional translator, someone who is used to looking at things like e-commerce product listings, which is very key. Another good example is why you need to be careful of how you're localizing your listings. A Chevy Nova over in the US, well, Nova as two words in Italian means doesn't work or won't go. So you've got to be careful in your product. So this might be an example of when you want to rebadge your products. And I mean, there are plenty of items in the European and UK markets and in the US markets. They've all got different names in different marketplaces. I think there are some wonderful examples. Like, for example, we've got a very car brand in the UK called Vauxhall, but over in Europe it's called Opel. And it's because Vauxhall has got very big connotations for pride, national. It's a national brand. It's very British. So yes, they want Vauxhall to stay Vauxhall, but that brand doesn't mean the same thing over in Spain or in France. No, they know an Opel. So depending on where your product is localized to, depends on whether you might want to consider name changing, because you don't want to come up to a position where your car might be being marketed as doesn't go, or there's nothing there. So so I think that's quite a nice point there. When talking about globalization and when you're talking about the sorts of things where you're entering global marketplaces, you need to consider what your options are here. Because, for example, a lot of people, you'll see the word Amazon throughout the world, and Amazon's a very recognizable brand, and it is an extremely good e-commerce brand that is very powerful in certain markets. I think it's extremely powerful in the US. Over in Europe, however, it's not quite the same thing. In some places like the United Kingdom, for example, Amazon is used very much similarly as it is in the US. It's seen as a market share leader. However, if you then start looking in the UK for things like electronic goods or games, for example, video games, there is a specific marketplace for that. It's called Game, and Game does exactly what it says on the tin. And if you are selling those sorts of goods and you're not selling on Game, you're missing out on all of those sellers who are specifically looking for that product, and they know they're looking for that product on the specialist website. So always consider your marketplace, because the marketplace might not be it might not be correct just to have one. And as we were saying in the 3PL and the warehousing and the logistics slide, if you are storing your goods in a 3PL, you can then sell on these other platforms as well and utilize the same stock. So you don't need to then bring lots more stock options across. I mean, another prime example is Allegro. Allegro in Poland has got the market share. I think it's got 193 million page views a month, compared to Amazon that hasn't even got 20% of the market share. So 193 million, you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of page views. So are you going to therefore be using Amazon as well as Allegro? Of course you are, because otherwise you're going to see a much less uptake of your products on that marketplace. Additionally, you can also use FBA to fulfill to certain other platforms. For example, if you are in Poland, you can use FBA, Amazon FBA in Poland to literally fulfill your orders on Allegro. So again, that's something key that is actually really key to be considering there. If you're going to expand to Australia, for example, you might consider listing your goods on Woolworths, because Woolworths over in Australia is slightly bigger than Amazon is. So it really does depend on where you are. And I think currently there are over 50 marketplaces in Europe that we can recommend. So we'd always recommend that you speak to an expansion and strategy and growth expert as you are starting to take those decisions and start looking into. Definitely go and do some more research before you start your expansion. So the required aspects and things to consider in timelines. As I've stated, in order to get compliant and start trading in Europe, you're going to need to do things in certain time frames. For example, EORI is going to take you up to 14 days to get one of those. A VAT number, it's 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the country. Sometimes it can be slightly longer. It can also be that your product compliance and cost analyses, that might take you a week to 10 days. Your listing keyword localization might take a week. Your FX account setup, well, that's quite quick. You can do that in a day. But then your shipment of goods, depending on whether you're choosing to do airship or sea freight, you might decide that you get some express products across the border and do a quick order of air freight to get goods into the market quickly. But then you want to back it up with a container load of goods that are then going to be coming across as well at the same time. So we'd recommend you take into account those required aspects and those things to consider. And please don't ship anything until you've got everything set up, because if it arrives at the port and you're not set correctly, you're either going to pay much more higher fees. So like, for example, bringing goods into the UK, you can defer the import VAT until the point where you're paying the VAT on the sold product. If you don't have yourself set up and you don't have a VAT number, you're probably not going to get clearance. And also you're going to have to pay import VAT and you're going to have to pay VAT as well. So you're going to have to pay the tax twice. So again, make sure you do the research and find out how long it's going to take there. Again, something Avast can help you with. We can help you with all of the elements listed here. Something new to also add, if you're going to be setting up in France and Germany and coming into Spain and Austria as well, you're going to need to register for something called Extended Producer Responsibility, or EPR. EPR is a new form of eco-tax, and what it's designed to do is it's designed to ensure that manufacturers and sellers are using eco-solutions and eco-friendly solutions when they are bringing products into the market. So if you're bringing in a good that's wrapped in virgin plastic, you're going to be paying a much higher contribution towards the disposal of that plastic than you would if it was made out of recycled paper or corrugated cardboard. So you need to consider those things as well when shipping in Europe. There are a lot of different variables. So that's the end of my presentation, just right there. Please do scan the QR code. And if you are interested in finding out more about how Avast can help you, scan that QR code and enter Post-Purchase Pro 75, and we'll give you a 75% discount on any registration fees. So that is a huge amount of discount we're offering there. We hope that you'll use that. We hope that you've found this presentation useful. So thank you very much.
Great job, Mike, as usual. Real quick question. Well, first of all, I just wanted to reiterate, Seth and I do not get rewarded financially for having Mike on. He's just trying to track how effective his partner is. Mike, can you agree that we're not getting commission from this?
No, we don't have any commission going to Post-Purchase Pro. This is purely a discount going straight to you, the sellers.
Thank you, Mike. And then my question for you is, when someone finally does take this step and they decide to go global with their product based on the success that they're already seeing in a different marketplace, what do you see like across the board typically increase in profits in the first year of going into other marketplaces?
Well, it all depends on the product you're selling and the marketplaces you're entering into, but you could see anything to be between 35 to 40% increases depending on how you set yourself up.
Wow. Okay. Great stuff, Mike. We're going to have to move on to the other speaker. Please give my love to the team over there, especially Melanie. You know, I have a soft spot for Melanie, and I hope to see you guys down the road. Thank you so much, my friend, for hanging out today.
It's no problems. And thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure. And if anybody does need any assistance, please do get into contact with us. We're more than happy to help in any way we can.
I highly recommend you reach out to Mike. Thanks, Mike. Take care, man.
Mike.
Thank you.
Mr. Ben Robinson. How the heck are you?
I don't know about the Mr. part of that, but I'll go with the Ben part. Just don't call me late for dinner. Hey, I'm great, but I'm already at a disadvantage. I'm a country boy from Georgia, and I have to follow that accent.
That's what I'm saying. He just sounds so much more intelligent than rednecks like me.
Oh, well, I'm king of the redneck committee, so there we go.
Well, you're the prince because I'm the king. I put the redneck in redneck.
There you go.
What part of Georgia are you in? I forget.
I'm in Northeast Georgia, Atlanta area, but so far outside of it. So yeah.
So you're a Clemson fan then, huh?
Oh no, no, go Dogs, go Dogs,
Dogs all the way, huh?
Oh yeah.
So you're not too far northeast then.
No, I'm only about 45 minutes from Athens, Georgia. So
okay, great. So we're 6 minutes behind, so we're just going to jump right into this, and then hopefully you leave a little time for Q&A. So without further ado, folks, please feel welcome, Mr. Ben Robinson, and send a few shout outs in the chat. Ben, go ahead and share your screen, man. It's all yours.
Awesome. I will definitely do that. But first, let me say, I do not like doing presentations. I like speaking from the heart because I've been involved with mergers and acquisitions, selling businesses, buying businesses since 1998. And I have seen a lot of mistakes. I personally have made a lot of mistakes, and I want to help you to avoid those when you go to sell your business, because the very best day of your business is when you sell it. That's probably when you're going to make the most in one single day that you ever make. So we're going to talk about being exit ready and things that you can do. Now, I work with Keep Metrics. I'm one of the co-founders, and we do nerdy accounting, bookkeeping, payroll, sales tax planning, compliance, blah, blah, blah. We do all those sorts of things. But the thing that I'm most passionate about is helping people to get ready to sell and helping people to acquire businesses. So that's kind of my mantra right there. So just wanted to mention that before I actually go into the presentation. I'll share my screen right now, and hopefully I share the right screen right here. I had lightning strike my house last night, and I had to find an old computer and set it up. So I don't know what I'm doing right now. So if it sounds like I don't know what I'm doing, that sometimes it's just normal right here, but hopefully you can see.
Looks good,
man. Good shape. Everything's coming through.
Okay, awesome. So again, thanks for letting me be here. That is not supposed to say AMZ Insiders. That is supposed to say Post-Purchase Pro. See, I already got the wrong presentation right here, but it's the right content. That's the most important.
That's okay. Thing. Jamie will be on the show later today at 1:00. I think.
Okay, awesome.
He's following you, so maybe he'll make the same mistake.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. So first outcome is for you to be aware of the financial traps and know how to avoid them. This is so important with your business. Excuse me just a second. I'm going to, let me stop share for just a second, just to make sure that I didn't go, yep, I got the wrong presentation up. That's why. Let me pull the right one up right here. How about that?
Well, you said you don't like doing presentations. You want to speak from the heart. So
I do want to speak from the heart. Let me go back over here and make sure that I can present my screen.
We're witnessing, ladies and gentlemen, the real Ben Robinson.
Yeah, you don't want to see the real one. Here we go. I was like, no, I did that. That was just the wrong presentation. So there we go. Be exit ready. How to leverage your financial statements for maximum value. And you are Post-Purchase Pro. So thanks again for letting me be here. So number one, I want you to be aware of the financial traps and how to avoid them. Now, some of you may be interested in selling your business tomorrow. Some of you, it may be 10 years. Most people, it's going to be somewhere in between. But what we're going to be talking about here today is applicable, and it's best practices, regardless if you want to sell your business ever or if you want to sell it tomorrow. So I've seen a lot of things. I know where the bodies are buried. I can tell you what not to do because, again, I've probably made a lot of the mistakes or my clients have along the way. So I have wisdom only because of the calluses that are on my hands, proverbially and actually, from going through this. But the first thing is I want you to be aware of these. Some of the things may apply to you today. Some of them may apply to you later down the road. I want to make sure that when these circumstances come up, you go, I remember that redneck from Georgia saying something about that. I need to go in and pay attention to this. So I want you to be aware of these, and also to learn some best practices to be able to maximize your exit value, because again, that is the biggest payday that you'll ever have in your business. So why is this important? Well, the numbers are your business's scoreboard. So imagine that we're playing a game of pickup basketball and we have no scoreboard. We have no way of measuring how we're doing. And this is the same thing in your business. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir right here, but it's important that we understand that if we don't know our numbers, we don't know our business. That's not my quote. That is from Marcos Lemonis, and I firmly believe that. This is the scoreboard. And so many times we get wrapped up in products and profit, and all that stuff is very important. But right now, when we're putting it in the context of potentially selling our business, this is the measurement stick that every single potential buyer is going to use on your business. This applies no matter if you're in e-commerce or whatever the business is, but this is a scorecard. So it's so important that we keep up with this. Second thing is that you mess this up, not saying that you would, but I've seen it in circumstances where if you don't have the numbers right, it could bust up a sale. This is one of the most frequent times that we get new clients is when a sale has fallen through. A client realizes that they need to get their financial statements in order, get their financial house in order that we'll talk about here today. So I don't want that to happen to you. So again, I just want to bring awareness to all of this when you're going, and then of course, make more money when you get through the sale right there. That's why this is so important. So hope you have your attention. But the cardinal sin in all of this, if you ever want to sell your business, know this, it's looking like an amateur to a potential buyer. Now, you probably are going to get somebody that's more sophisticated buying your business. It may be a consolidator. It may be venture capital. But looking like an amateur is a sure sign to the acquirer that they need to have heightened awareness. So some of the things we'll be talking about here today is how to avoid looking like an amateur when it comes to your financial statements and your performance when it comes to dollars and cents right there. So let's talk about traps to avoid. Now, if you hear the cadence in my voice speaking up and getting faster, it's because I am very passionate about this. And we'll probably never do any business together, but I just want you to know what these things are, because I've been on the acquirer side and I've been on the merger side. I've been on selling, I've been on buying. And these are things that I see. And I could go on and on and on. I've got a laundry list of things that we check off when we're helping somebody get ready to sell or helping a potential buyer to purchase an entity. But trap number one is having late, inaccurate, incomplete, or no financial statements. So when you're getting your financial statements, we need to have a policy, and we'll talk about standard operating procedures here in just a second. But having late financial statements, imagine that today on your desk arrives Q1 of 2023's financial statements, March 31st. Is that going to do you any good today? No, it's not. The reason that we get financial statements, number one, is to understand how we have performed. What is the score of this game that I'm playing called business? But if I have this information 6 months after the fact, it does me hardly any good. The second reason that we have the financial statements is so we can affect positive change on the future. So how can we affect positive change into the future? Unless we have a time machine, a flux capacitor, we can't go back and do that. So having late financial statements is one of the worst things that we can be doing, because as a business owner, you need to use those as a guide. Imagine that you go to the doctor and she recommends, hey, you need to get 3 tests done. And it's 6 months later when you get the results of those. It does the doctor no good to diagnose and to prescribe, and it does you no good to have it late. So please don't do that. Second thing is inaccurate financial statements. We don't have all the information in there, or they're incomplete. Okay, so inaccurate, meaning we don't have all the information. They're incomplete, or no financial statements. These are things that I want you to avoid. That's trap number one. So the solution to this is to create timely, accurate, and here's the key, complete e-commerce specific financial statements. Your bookkeeper or your accountant may or may not know e-commerce, but we need to make sure that we have these formatted in a way that people who want to purchase e-commerce understand them thoroughly. Okay, let me repeat that. We want to have these statements in a way that the purchaser understands what they are saying. A normal, general, out-of-the-box type of chart of accounts and formatting of your P&L and all that sort of thing does not work in this case. It needs to be customized to e-commerce. Now, I'll tell you, an e-commerce business is 80% the same as a veterinarian, but that last 20% of uniqueness is what separates the good from the bad when it comes to reporting on your product. So we want to make sure that we have complete, timely, accurate, e-commerce specific financial statements and all of that sort of thing right there. Now, trap number two, and I know nobody here makes this, but if we want to talk about amateur hour, if I'm going in and evaluating potential business for somebody on their behalf, if I see that they're mixing their personal funds with their business funds, immediately red flags go up to me. I know most of you are not doing that. Probably none of you are, but I want to mention that because that is one of the things that just flags me. And I know that I've got to have heightened awareness on everything that I'm looking at. So what we recommend at a minimum here, now I'm a big proponent of keeping it simple, right? KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, because I like that. I don't like complication. What I do recommend in this case is that you have 3 dedicated business accounts. Number 1, a checking account. Number 2, a savings account. And then number 3, a credit card. And the only things that go in there are transactions related to your business. We can switch things up. There are certain formats where you could have more accounts. I don't like to have that unless it's absolutely necessary and it gives me some sort of advantage of cost savings or making me more money. But at a minimum, have these 3 accounts right there and make sure that we don't mix up our personal with our business expenses. If we need money from the personal level, we transfer it over to our personal account from our business account. So make sure that we're doing that. Number 3 is using the cash basis for financial reporting. There's 2 ways that you can report your financial statements: the accrual basis, which is what we recommend, or the cash basis. Now, a cash basis is like reading fiction. Accrual basis is reading nonfiction. It's the truth. It gets to the core essence of things, because if I'm a sneaky little, you know what, I can use the cash basis to manipulate my profits in the way that I want to. Now, eventually, over time, that would catch up with me. But using the cash basis for financial reporting internally for you to make decisions is not good. We don't want to base our real life decisions off of a fantasy. Okay, so we don't want to use that. What we want to use is the accrual basis, because it gives us a complete picture. Here's why. One of the big things that we do when it comes to accrual basis is that we report who owes us, so accounts receivable, and who we owe, accounts payable. There's some other things that go in there, like accrued expenses. I'm not going to get into all the nerdery of it right there. But this right here, what it does is it reflects an accurate statement. Imagine that you go out there and you had rent for October, but you paid it this month. Well, that doesn't really reflect right. We would want to show that as a prepaid expense. Accrual basis, we need to make sure that we're capitalizing it and showing our inventory on our balance sheet until we actually sell the product when it goes to cost of goods sold. So the accrual basis is the way to understand what's truly going on in your business. Now, I'll also say this. One of the big pushbacks that I get, and this is kind of crazy, I get this from CPAs, that, hey, you can't report on the accrual basis because then taxes will have to go underneath that. Well, there are IRS regulations that say when you can and when you cannot use the cash basis for tax purposes, but it's totally legitimate for you as management, as the ownership of your entity, to look at your financial performance over the accrual basis, yet still prepare your taxes on a cash basis. That is totally possible. Matter of fact, if you want to get very technical about it, if you're filing a Form 1065 or if you're filing 1120 or 1120S, there is a Schedule L. At the very top, it says balance sheet per books. And then it gives us this nice little schedule called the M1. Aren't you glad you came? The M1, where we reconcile the differences between accrual basis and cash basis. There's established revenue procedure that tells us how to do that. So if your accountant or some tax advisor says you can't report on the accrual basis just because of taxes, that's absolutely 100% false. So use the accrual basis right there. And I guess you'll break in if I have anything or if I go away or something like that. And I'm just over here preaching to myself. So
yeah, we won't let you talk to the wall. You're good.
Well, I do that anyway. So benefit right there. Okay. Trap number 4 is only having internally prepared financial statements. So if you're preparing these, maybe you have a bookkeeper internally, an office manager, an external bookkeeper, that's fine. Okay, that's one level of assurance right there. But really, on the external world, what they want to see, what potential buyers want to see, is at least a compilation, if not a review or an audit. Now, this is done by a third-party CPA firm. Now, keep metrics, we're not a CPA firm. I played that game for way too long. I played that for 15 years, was audit and tax and all that. What we do is we get these ready. And what this means is that a third party, an independent third party, such as a certified public accountant, that's the only people that can actually do that, and we're talking in the US right here, can do a compilation of financial statements. Now, if we were to rank these, a compilation is the lowest level, the lowest form of assurance, but it's better than having only internal prepared financial statements. The next level is a review. It gives a little bit more assurance than a compilation, but an audit is the Mac Daddy. It's the top of the mountain. And if you are of substantial size, 5, 10, 15, 25 million, a potential buyer is probably going to at least have a review, if not an audit. And if we can start that process now, at least from a compilation level, it makes it a lot easier at the end to start getting these higher level of assurances. Now, this is kind of like checking a box. It's a little bit of compliance, but I can guarantee you, I've seen it scores of times. We can say the multiplier for an audited financial statement is much higher than a review, which is much higher than a compilation. So having internal financial statements only, that's fine. Okay. We're not talking about doing this all the time, but what we're talking about is getting an independent third party to go out there and issue an audit, or review, or a compilation. Trap number 5 is a lack of standard operating procedures and documentation. Now, I'm speaking from the angle of your finances. How do you do your accounting? How do you do accounts payable? How do you do purchase orders? Do you have all of these things mapped out? Because one of the things that I want to see, and I'm most of the time met with grins because they don't have it. And trust me, there's a lot of things I don't have in my business. But I say, hey, let me see your standard operating procedures for how you pay a bill. Let me see your standard operating procedure for how you do a purchase order, how you get inventory. Let me walk through all of that with you. And most people have nothing. It's all up here in their head, or it's in the head of 18 people inside of their business. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we get this down. These don't have to be elaborate 10-page documents unless it's something that's very complicated. But being able to say, hey, how do we do these things? This is how we pay a bill. This is how we create a purchase order. This is how we get inventory either onto our shelves or put it in to FBA, whatever the case may be. So we've got to document our procedures with written details and then a checklist of the how-to. That's very important to do. And again, it's pretty darn simple. You can use something like Otter AI to describe, or get somebody who's doing this to describe it, and it'll get it transcribed. And then you can take it over to ChatGPT and say, create me a checklist out of this. And it doesn't take you any additional effort. It only took you going and doing screen share. That's kind of a rudimentary, crude way, but it's a heck of a lot better than having absolutely nothing and expecting everything up in your head and other team members' heads to come out. And this is really, again, a good practice, whether you're going to sell your business or not, to have these things documented. Okay, trap number 6. Now, this one doesn't directly relate to selling your business, but it's something that I see, and I'm kind of on this pilgrimage to make sure that you and other people don't make this. But giving payment authority, authorization for somebody other than you, or somebody who has a vested interest in your business, aka ownership, to allow money to go out of the business. Okay, this is so important. And if you read, and I have a Google alert set up for this, for people that commit fraud, office managers, bookkeepers, things like that. And not saying that yours is or anything like that, but the reason that they were able to do that is that the business owner abdicated their entire role of letting money go outside of their business. And that is not a best practice. Now, you can have people, and you should have a couple of people in your business that do the administrative process, right? They get the bill and they enter it inside of QuickBooks or NetSuite, whatever that you're using. Somebody else comes and matches that up, and then you could be the one that actually approves it. They could tee it all up to get it ready. But this is the way, the biggest way that people can rip you off, is that if you give somebody else other than yourself authority to let money fly out of your business. This is something that you don't want to do. Again, it's not directly related to what we're talking about here, but I don't want you to be that person right there. Okay, so let business owners only authorize those payments. Now, I could do an entire segment on that, but I'm not going to, because I got a few more traps that I need to get into right here. Trap number 7 is paying too much in taxes. Now, this is paying too much in taxes from the context of selling your business, as well as running it day to day. So we need to understand, and there is not a one-size-fits-all approach. People say, hey, should I be an LLC? Should I be an S corporation, C corporation, sole proprietorship? Well, I tell you, don't be a sole proprietorship, because I'm not an attorney, but there is no legal protection. And there's more limitations on what you can do from an income tax savings perspective when it comes to sole proprietorship as far as the other entities. So what we need to do is we need to think ahead. We need to plan ahead. I know that we're all just hanging on for dear life sometimes for the day-to-day type of operations, but we need to plan ahead to say, hey, how can I minimize my tax burden? And most of the time, that's not going to be you. That's going to be you working with an accountant, somebody who's tax qualified, maybe even an attorney, so that you set yourself up. Because there are ways, and we're talking about the legal ramifications here. We're not talking about doing something shady or anything like that. What we're saying is, how can I minimize my tax burden? Because if you get a big payday, guess who wants some of that? Guess who wants a lot of that? That's the federal government and the state government, or the state governments, depending on how you are operating. So this is a very fluid, dynamic type of environment, and it's on many planes. We have to consider a lot of different things. Where am I today? Where am I going to be in my business? When do I anticipate selling? How much do I anticipate selling for? It's a sliding scale that professionals need to help you with that plan. Because if you can take, let's say you had a $5 million exit, and that was mainly profit. Now you're going to be paying, if you hadn't planned ahead, you could be paying up to half of that to the governments, okay? Or at least 40% of it. But there's ways for you to mitigate and get it to be half that amount or even less. But unless you have a plan, we don't understand what that is. We've got to make sure that we look ahead. Trap number 8, not getting a non-disclosure agreement in place. So non-disclosure agreement, I'm sure most of you know what it is, but let me just back up. If I'm going to be evaluating your business to purchase, I'm going to be looking at some very sensitive information. I'm going to be looking at your balance sheet. I'm going to be looking at your income statement. I'm going to be looking at your statement of cash flows, probably even more details, getting into your Amazon seller account, et cetera, et cetera. So I've got a lot of access to proprietary information. And I don't need to be able to take that information and use it with a competitor or to start a competing business or something like that. So a non-disclosure agreement, this is a legal agreement, so you do need to seek legal counsel. But what I'm telling you is say, hey, that Ben guy told me, don't reveal this information to a potential buyer until I get this non-disclosure agreement in place, signed by you and signed by the potential buyer. So I know this is kind of a duh thing right there, but just understand that this is so important. I've seen people, I've seen some bad things happen because they didn't get this, because there are a few bad apples out there. And we need to make sure that we're doing everything on our end to protect ourselves. So get that NDA signed before revealing any proprietary information about your business, your sales, your expenses, etc. Trap number 9, no projection/achievement history. So let me explain what that is. Businesses that can say, hey, we projected for quarter 4 that we were going to earn $450,000. Not only did we meet that, but we beat it by $15,000. We actually achieved $465,000. Q1 2024, we projected that we were going to have $512,000 in profit, but we fell a little bit short. We were only at $500,000. A potential buyer is going to look at these metrics and go, okay, it's like when you're buying a stock. Did they meet earnings expectation, or did they not meet earnings expectations? You're doing the same thing here with your business. So this does involve planning. It does involve forecasting and budgeting and all those kind of 4-letter words that are probably pretty boring in your eyes. But know this, bookkeeping is boring, but cash is king. And creating something like your OKRs, okay, objectives and key results, is one of the things that can separate you from everybody else. It can also help you to really get the results, the financial results, the dollars and cents that you want in your business. So let me just give you a quick example of an OKR. And by the way, if you want a great reference on this, there's a book called Measure What Matters by John Doerr, D-O-E-R, that walks through this. These were created, Google uses these. So if Google uses it, that means it's right? Sometimes it does. But Andy Grove, who was one of the founders of Intel, was the one who came up with this. So let's just say again that my objective is to earn $450,000 in Q4, okay, of net income in Q4. So notice this, it has a very specific dollar amount or a number attached to it, as well as a time frame. It's not like I want to earn more net income. No, it's specific. It's one sentence. I want to earn $450,000 specificity by in Q4 of 2023. Specific date right there. That's the objective. That's the what. Now, the key results are the how. Okay, so I've got this in here, and this is just an example right here. But the key result, the first one could be, hey, I need to boost my e-commerce sales by 20% through marketing campaigns, optimization of the conversion funnel, and launching 2 more high margin products. Now, we can even take this, and now we go into an execution plan. This is more from a high level. What are the big things that myself, my team, everybody who's involved in my business need to be focusing on? That would be 1. Number 2, reduce operational expenses by 10% through optimization, renegotiating contracts and things like that, better inventory management. And then 3, acquire 3,000 new customers through targeted online advertising, following up with them post-purchase. So this could just be an example right there of an OKR. And the last one that I want to leave you with, this is near and dear to my heart. I don't know if you're using QuickBooks Online or if you're using NetSuite or something else, but QuickBooks, Xero, these sort of programs, they are bookkeeping applications. And sometimes I even question that, but they're bookkeeping applications. Let's go ahead and give them that. As an afterthought, they put inventory management in here. Okay, they say, okay, we'll do some inventory management along with our QuickBooks right here. It is an afterthought. This would be like taking a Lexus, going to Home Depot and piling it up with mulch, dirt, and other plants and stuff like that to bring it home. Could it be done? Yes. Does it need to be done? No. Is that the intended use of it? Absolutely not. It's meant to take me in luxury to a restaurant or out to eat or wherever that I want to go. I guess out to eat and restaurants are the same thing, Ben. But this is not what it was designed for. Now, if you have 3 SKUs, it'll do an okay job. But if you have 10 or more, this is not something that you need to use, okay? This is something that you need a collaborative environment using something like Seven or Fishbowl to work with your QuickBooks so that it can handle the heavy lifting on there, because inventory, as you know, that's the #1 asset most likely on your balance sheet. And it's the #1 driver of cost of goods sold on your income statement. So this is not something that we want to leave to chance. This is something that we want to make sure that we're dedicating a specific application to that, because it's very complicated. And I think I completed it in my time. And so I just leave it right here. If we do have time, what questions do you have for me? If not, I understand that we're a little bit behind. I can go ahead and buzz off. Bueller.
All right. Sorry, Ben. I was talking with the mic muted.
That's all right.
He does that quite a bit, Ben.
Yeah. What's that?
Ben, this is great. So we've sold a lot of businesses ourselves. And so I love the entire process of collecting the cash, but I don't love the entire process of getting ready for sale, because that is a lot of work. And you do have to take the right steps or you won't get the right result. So what you just shared is a gold mine for anyone who is thinking about preparing for a business exit at any time in the future. You need to rewatch that and take notes and then start implementing piece by piece, because what he said is absolutely true. Any other commentary on that, Sean?
No, I would just like to say that what he said was correct when it comes to having those clean books and making sure that they translate correctly to a sophisticated buyer. Because my first exit was to some partners. That was a little easier, but my second one, due diligence, took months and months and months. I was so fed up with it that the next time I went into it, I said, Seth, make sure we have absolutely squeaky clean books. You don't want to have to apologize for anything. We want it to be crystal clear and evident that this is an investment that's going to pay back in spades to the investor. We don't want them to question, why is business not growing? Why is business declining? We want to sell it on the upswing and make sure that we don't have to apologize for anything ugly, and anything other than that's just not acceptable. And it's served us well.
Absolutely. Due diligence is like a financial colonoscopy, right? It is horrible, but you're glad that you got it done once it's over.
Yes. Yep. You're right.
A little crude, but hopefully that'll make the image stick.
That's how we do. I'm redneck number one. So thank you for keeping this redneck wisdom easy to understand.
You bet. You bet. I appreciate you guys having me here.
All righty.
All right. Thank you so much, Ben. This
All right.
great.
Thank you. Thank you, gents. I'll stop sharing my screen now.
All right. So it looks like next up on deck, we have Mr. Brexton. Jamie, thanks for jumping in early, man.
Hey, Jamie, this guy was just bragging about you. You know, Ben, he's still in here, but he, when he started his presentation, it said, "Thank you, AMZ insiders." And I thought, wait a second now. Jamie,
that's how it's about. Cool. Well, good. I'll jump out.
Actually, it is Jamie.
It is Jamie. Jamie. Brexton, you are early. And you're muted.
I was going to say, I hope it's not me yet, because Isaiah's going to join us, and I think he was planning on 1:30, but I just popped on to see what's
Jamie,
going on.
I misspoke there. Jamie?
It's not you yet. I'm going to kill your camera, Brexton. See you in a minute. Jamie from House Davidson. How the hell are you?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Appreciate you guys having me. Excited to
have.
Share
look at my brand new Sean Hart bobblehead. Isn't this amazing?
It is amazing. It's amazing. Sure. Seth's got to get control of the company expenses, it sounds like, over there.
Oh, I didn't expense that one yet. I'm trying to figure out a way to pass through, but I haven't been creative. Jamie, let's get you going, man. You're already 3 minutes late here, thanks to me. So
awesome. We'll jump. Yeah, we'll jump right in. We're gonna we got some cool stuff to share with everyone and keeping people updated on what we're doing in the world of tools and AI tools. I like to share, because these things change almost monthly in terms of stuff that we're using and looking at. So I want to share with you guys 8 tools. It's going to be real quick, probably about 20 minutes or so, right, to stay on schedule here, that we're using, and happy to answer any questions around it as well here. So, and I wanted to just see the, the chat, I can't quite see it right now, but I will, there it goes. I will, if there's any questions, by all means, feel free to jump in with those. Some of you guys may know me, some of you may not. Jamie Davidson, co-founder of AMZ Insiders, a longtime seller. A lot of times people used to see me. I used to do a lot of videos running around our warehouse here and jumping around and all of our inventory. So started selling back in 2012 time frame with a couple of my neighbors, and scaled that business after a kind of a long corporate career before that. But interest of time, we're going to jump right in. These are some of the brands and sales and the growth we have with it. We're big in the cell phone accessory space, but sold in about 6 other categories as well too. This is a free Facebook group. It's one of the largest. It is the largest AI focused group specifically for Amazon sellers. We've got about I think it's over 25,000 members in this group now. A lot of the heavy hitters in the industry you'll see are all members of the group as well too. So that's on Facebook. It's awesome. Brexton is here. We were just at his amazing event here, Sean and myself and others. And that was in Chicago here at the Ecom Summit. And I shared some topics on AI. The cool thing is today I can share a couple things when on stage. It's a little bit harder to share. So I will give you guys a couple cool things. So been fortunate to have the opportunity to speak with on a ton of stages. And we collaborate with a lot of the best people, top people in the industry, like Sean and Seth and other kind of respected, legitimate people. As you come to events, of course, say hello, and we look forward to connecting with you. So let's jump right into the tools here. Oh, the other one I think is just because we always get this question is like, hey, it's awesome that Sean and Seth host these things and share all this value. A lot of people can get intimidated by this huge opportunity with Amazon. They think, I remember we launched AMZ Insiders around 2016, 2017 to help people, but we've been selling since 2011. And people in 2015, 2016, everyone thought it was too saturated then, right? When it was at 107 billion. This is Amazon's. I mean, you can see what it's doing right here. So just understand, for all of us, the opportunity is still massive, but it's about making sure you guys are getting the right insight, and you guys are in the right place today with this monthly call. The other thing that's cool too is the percentage of sales for Amazon for third-party sellers like me and you guys, it continues to go up. So not only is the total pie, right, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, the percentage of that pie that represents sellers is also continuing to grow. It's right around 60%. So sellers are representing so you have a growing market and a bigger piece of the pie. So the growth of third-party sellers is even bigger than what the total sales look like. All right. So hopefully, again, that gets you guys excited for the rest of 23 here and before we pivot to 24. So again, really quickly, I'm going to give you guys 8 tools. That's really the intent today. I give you 8 tools. And frankly, if you can implement one tool, right, I think this will be a success. So I'm going to go through them fairly quickly. But the theme of kind of the tools is really around how to drive traffic, how to expand your brand from beyond Amazon, right? So outside traffic, many of you know, is really critical to the Amazon algorithm, mostly because Amazon is trying to compete with the other e-commerce platforms, but even more so than that is just these emerging social platforms. So in one of our chats, a lot of people are talking about TikTok is already doing, I don't know, 30 billion or something insane in e-commerce because of this whole social commerce aspect. So Amazon is no dummy. They want to stay ahead of the game. And so, they're rewarding you for driving external traffic too. So let's jump into a couple of these AI things. Again, I truly call any AI tool, and when I say AI tool, these are things that I view it as through a lens of things that you can actually implement yourself, that these aren't like the robotics or super complex stuff or kind of the high level stuff. I'm talking about entrepreneur, end user. I can use this tool and implement it for my business. So from that spectrum, I really consider this a last to first and first to last opportunity, meaning you really have an opportunity to leapfrog a lot of people, a lot of other sellers, or if you're already doing well and you don't take advantage of these tools, you can go from first to last because you can go the other direction as well. All right. In the chat here, we're not going to talk much about ChatGPT because ChatGPT has a long ways to go, but that was like, that was so early 2023 here. Now we're way ahead. How about in the chat, if you guys are using ChatGPT, have used it for anything in your life, maybe put a 1. And if you haven't, put a 2 would be awesome in the chat here. If I can see it just to get a sense. So Seth is a 1. Awesome. All right. Cool. 1, 2. Hector's a 2. Again, no right or wrong answers, but awesome. And I think I can see everyone's chat. Yeah, 2. It's David says a 2. So it is a mix. Braxton, of course, a 1. Awesome. Ross is a 1. So of course, ChatGPT, I'm not going to talk about it much extent other than what I would tell you. I'll give you a couple tips ChatGPT. One is really try to create a habit of using it, not even for Amazon, but like in your life. Anything you have, anytime you're stuck on a problem, anytime you're wondering, like let's say you have a legal contract or something, someone sends it to you and you're not exactly sure what's in there, throw it in ChatGPT and have it summarize it for you, right? We're going to talk about some more things. So what I found with ChatGPT and AI tools is you've got to first build a habit of using it. And the more you can do that for everyday aspects of your life, it's incredibly helpful. My major tip, which is pretty basic, but just to share what I always do with ChatGPT, is the number one thing you want to do is you want to tell ChatGPT is that it's an expert at whatever you're about to ask it to do, right? So I always think of ChatGPT as a genie in a bottle, and but you want to put its mindset and have it narrow its focus to whatever you're about to have it done. So when I'm doing Amazon stuff, I will tell it, you are an Amazon selling expert. Sometimes I may say you're the world's greatest Amazon seller, right? If I'm having it do review a legal doc or something, I'll say you are a legal expert in XYZ area, right? So narrow it down there because it's so wide, it's accessing so much data. Again, you want to, it's like the riches or the niches. Have it niche down first and then go after it. From there, there's a lot more to talk about, but we're not going to go super in depth because I'm going to go through these other kind of 7 tools as well too. But certainly anything with copy, so product optimization is huge. Advertising is a little more sophisticated with some of the tools and the bidding as well too. But it's also great for any kind of customer service, customer engagement, how you should respond. Phenomenal also for market analysis and niche identification. Although I'm going to give you my number one tool here in about 10 minutes, my number one tool to help you find great products to sell. I think is absolutely amazing and awesome. And then a few other things. The other one I really like, here's a bunch of prompts. You can take a screenshot of this. You can just plug and play into it as well too. I'm not going to go through these right now, but just take a shot if you want it or reach out later. I mentioned listing optimization. The other one is for like customer support is great. This is one of my coaches, Matt Atkins. Some of you may know him. And Matt, after we shared some of this stuff with him earlier in the year, he sent me this message that night and said, easiest support case I've ever opened, right? So make your life easier, take advantage of ChatGPT. I'm going to leave it at that. So a couple of the more advanced stuff I'm going to show you is, and it's a little over Zoom, it probably won't come all the way through, but I'll share a few seconds. So one thing we're doing more and more is we are using AI created avatars and AI voice create, mimicking your voice. So I'm going to show you how we're doing this ourselves here. Again, this is call it a little bit more advanced or maybe a little more intimidating to some people, but yeah, Damien, we can definitely get you a copy of the prompts. No problem. I can get you guys this whole thing, I guess, through Sean and Seth too at the end. So again, my goal is don't worry if you miss something. I just want to get this to you guys in the interest of this time we have allotted here. And if something resonates with you, by all means, through Sean and Seth and the team, we'll make sure we get you guys what you want.
I'm not sure I can live up to that introduction, but I'll certainly try. Thank you for those incredibly kind words. Now, let me take a moment to return the favor. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't yet, you absolutely must check out.
All right, so I'm going to kill that quickly, but essentially what we're doing, that is my voice, right? I'm going to show you how we're doing this. So you can mimic your own voice, clone your own voice, or anyone else's voice. There are some ethic requirements you need to keep in space. So essentially this video, right, this image is just, an AI generated image of myself or a variation of myself. And it is, the voice is also, I never spoke these words either. This was all created. Matter of fact, the script that it's reading is through ChatGPT. And so all of it, anyone could have created about me, right? I didn't have to have any involvement with the creation of this. And so you can do some cool things in terms of representing your brand, content, YouTube videos, Instagram shorts, TikTok, etc. So the possibilities are pretty big. And I want to show you how we're doing this right here. There's really 2 tools that we're combining in addition to ChatGPT. The first one's called 11 Labs. So 11 Labs allows you again to mimic these voices. If you do like a short audio, like a little Instagram clip, or you're just recording your voice, you can just record it and upload it. It can get it'll be like 60 to 70%. It says accurate of your voice. And that was the one I just played. There's another one that's more in depth. I did this. It took them like 3 or 4 weeks to get this back to you. They just sent me back my 100% perfectly cloned voice. That one, you have to make sure it's actually you. My business partner, Joey, here as well too. We did a short sample of hers as well too. We did some videos around there. So that's the first one. To get the voice, you can use this. Now there's obviously you can use other people's voices as well too, but to actually clone a voice, you can do it through 11 Labs, which is really, really powerful. You combine that with, this is called d-id.com. I always love the top here, products, technology, free trial log. If you go to Post-Purchase Pro, I bet they may have pricing or may have certain things on here. They probably don't need to have the ethics tab up here, but this stuff is so powerful. They got to have an ethics tab to talk to you about making sure you use this stuff for good and not for evil. What this site does is essentially you can either have, that was an image of myself talking, so you can use an image yourself, or you can create any of these AI generated images and sync it up with the audio. And then you get kind of that talking head piece. So that is pretty, oops, I'm flying through there. It's pretty awesome. So again, 11 Labs, d-id.com. You can basically create any brand representative for you for your Amazon business and use it for social purposes. And you can basically have a VA, right? Create all of the content, talk about stuff, whatever you want to do. It can be endless. And again, play with it a little bit. And this is stuff that obviously is emerging. It's not, we like to be on the front end of this stuff. And, so even if it's not perfect, we know the amount of content we can create is pretty massive. So,
hey, Jamie, real quick.
Yeah.
Did you say which platform you used to create the image of yourself?
Oh yeah, good question. I did not. I think it was Lensa, maybe. It's been a few months. You basically load up. You can load up like 20 photos of yourself, and it will create like a pack of like 50 AI versions of you. So
very cool.
Good. Well, there's a few of those out there. I think it was Lensa, maybe Lensa. So yeah.
Thanks.
Great. Cool. All right. So those are those two. Again, I've got, I think, 4 more to hit you guys up with here in the next 10 minutes. So again, encourage you guys to check those out. Probably a good amount of you, or some of you, I'm sure, if you're familiar with ChatGPT, familiar with Midjourney. There's also another site. Is it Dolly, D-A-L-L? I think it's -E, something like that, is really good as well. So these sites are basically AI generated to create images, right? And so I like this example here. I said, hey, in Midjourney, I said, create the world's most luxurious massage gun, right? So from a product perspective, like create some crazy version of this product and basically I'm trying to get ideas of how I could differentiate this from the competition. A lot of it you can use for lifestyle photos, and I'll show you how we did that. But the way I like to use Midjourney is actually through this, this other tool I'm going to show you, which is AI PRM. Again, some of you may know this, some of you may not. AI PRM is a Chrome extension. So, you just have to be on Google Chrome. It's free. And it basically overlays on top of ChatGPT. And what it allows you to do is it basically crowdsources all of the prompts, because ChatGPT is all about, anyone can ask it. So it's about what it is that you ask it. Some people, you can have really in-depth, complicated prompts to get you answers. And so what this does is it basically crowdsources the best prompts in the world for different things you want to do. So write a complete book in 1 click. Well, how would you prompt it to do that in a way that's actually productive? It's actually somewhat complex, but this makes it like idiot proof, right? You just literally go in and click and you can do it. So any of these things, you can click any of these prompts, you can see they're basically like upvoted, like a Reddit thread. And you can see there 354,000 or 3,000 likes, 354,000 comments, like massive things. So the best ones get put up there. And so for Midjourney, I like this Midjourney prompt. So I'll go in here. And so outputs, you basically just tell it what you want, but it will create the prompts for you. like the size of the image and like this technical aspect that most of us, don't have the time to become Midjourney experts. So I want, again, make Midjourney easy for me. And this AI PRM does this for this and really for anything else as well. So I said, create an image of a beautiful woman in her 30s to represent our water bottle brand, right? This is what it created. Again, much more in depth than what I asked it for. And I just copied and pasted and put it into Midjourney. And it gave me these four, always gives you 4 images. And then you can either have it generate more, or you can pick one and have it improve it. And so I drilled in right here to have it basically enhance the one image on the bottom here. And essentially we went through this same process that I showed you earlier with 11 labs or the d-id.com, and essentially make it like in a script.
Get ready to transform your hydration habits.
We basically create a little video using ChatGPT for her to talk about our product and our brand and et cetera. So again, it will evolve and get better, but this is how, again, we're basically creating brand representatives without having to hire someone to actually do that. All right. So that was, again, using the AI PRM and Midjourney combined. All right. Packing a lot into these next 5 minutes or so. Another one of my other favorite tools is this Opus. It's called Opus Clip. So Opus Clip is, all you do is drop in a link, a URL. So let's say you have a product video that's like a 30-minute walkthrough about your video or different stuff, basically something longer form. You just drop it in here and it will chop it up into 10 short video clips that are really, really effective for social media. So for all of the TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, etc. And it'll rank them 1 to 10. It'll tell you why the first one, like the number 1 is this is the best one because it has a great hook. This is the second best clip, the third best clip, fourth best clip, etc. And then just like that, you'll do it. Let's say you're, again, from a product standpoint, or if you're ever on a podcast or any of that stuff, you just copy and click it in there and it will do it all for you with some really cool graphics and everything else. So, and that's completely free. So a lot of these tools are free, or some of them cost a few bucks. I'm not going to go in depth to this one right now. This one's really cool. Flair, F-L-A-I-R. I think it's really cool for products. You just have like a simple product image like over here, and through AI, it will create a bunch of cool backgrounds that will do it. I'm not going to walk through the little walkthrough in the interest of time. I may just scroll through here a little bit. Let me see if I can just scroll through here. So it goes through it, starts with a couple of things, a strawberry app, and all of a sudden these AI backgrounds are created, and you end up like, boom, all of a sudden you end up with this in like 45 seconds, and you can, and then have multiple options, for your product. So this stuff is like a game changer on product creation, differentiation. Again, if you're implementing this stuff and your conversion rate goes up just slightly on your listing, it's a massive, massive difference in your sales there. So that's Flair, Flair.ai. You can see it, Flair.ai up top there. Again, none of these are my software. So, all right. Last one I'm going to share with you is my favorite personally. This is called Shulix. Again, some of you guys may have seen it. I've got something really cool from Shulix for you guys for the Post-Purchase Pro community here. I'll give this to you guys in a minute here. But Shulix, basically Shulix created when I thought about AI, I thought about like, all right, what would I want to create? Like because we can create, right? So we've got a team of developers. I'm like, all right, what do we want to create? And this was, I did not know Shulix existed, but they basically built the same thing that I thought that I would want to build in terms of what would be most helpful for Amazon sellers, which is I wanted to aggregate and leverage the data that Amazon gives you on the platform, Amazon.com, that they intend for the shoppers, but I want to use it for ourselves, the sellers. And what is the most powerful piece of data that Amazon provides for the people shopping on the site? It's reviews, right? And so we think of reviews as, all right, we want, 4 or 5-star review, and, people go through a few of them. But the real genius is that there's literally thousands and thousands of pieces of data that can be analyzed. Problem is, historically, it's too cumbersome. It takes too much time. So Shulix allows you to analyze not just one product, but the entire page of products, and it's pretty amazing. Let me see if I can do this super fast. If I stop my share, see if I can share my screen over to my, I'm going to do this super quick. Again, as I've heard Sean say before with other stuff, you know, we could go through this stuff for a couple hours, but I'm just giving you guys a little taste in this short period of time here. So really quick right here. So I put in massage gun, deep tissues, and massage gun sell. So one of these products still does like almost 30 million a year. A lot of these products does several million. But you can see with this, Schulix is a Chrome extension as well. It does have, there is a payment, but I'm going to give you guys a way to get it basically for free here in a moment. But there's basically this review analysis button. You hit it right here and you can say, select all the products or some of the products. And you simply hit this button. I think because we're on Zoom and on the interest of time, I probably won't have enough time to let it to run because it will, maybe it's going faster than I expected. I don't know, but it's processing the data, but I've got some screenshots to show you what the results look like for another product. So it analyzes the entire page. You can do this for every product. And what is awesome about it, I'm going to jump over to the other thing. Let me get back over to my
live demo. Always presents problems, Jamie.
Yeah, no, it's all good because I planned for that. But I did want you guys to see it live on the Chrome extension, just so sometimes that's better than a slide. But I have it right here. I have the screenshots for you. That's what you're looking at. This is what's really cool. And this is this analysis was for a lacrosse massage ball, which I've sold. And it analyzes the things that the customer unmet needs, right? And it gives you a percentage of how the frequency of it. So it basically gives you the biggest problem that you need to solve for any product. And if you can do that, you can enter that market and make a huge difference. And one of the coolest things, I love this, I call this a 4-box, 1 box, 2 box, 3 box, 4 box. This is the 1 through 5-star ratings and the percent of times is mentioned. So up and to the left here is what people correlate strongest to the low reviews. So for this product, it's the smell, right? So if you can solve that from a manufacturing perspective, you also can represent on your listing, right? Hopefully you guys can see how powerful that aspect would be. This is like really powerful. So this tool, again, not my tool, it's about $100 a month. They offer a 1-day trial. I did meet with them personally because I'm like, I love this tool. And they did give me something which I have not shared in any community or outside our own community, instead of the 1-day trial to get you guys like a month. Again, it's not my tool, but I'll give that to you in a minute. So to wrap things up, these are the 8 tools I shared with you, including ChatGPT. Again, the couple for the video, the audio, creating amazing images. AI PRM is like ChatGPT for dummies, or just simplifying it, crowdsourcing it. Again, creating video clips that you can use for social media. Flare is that creating those amazing product images with AI, and finally Schulix there. So that is it. If you guys are interested, again, I'm happy to share the slides, or I'll give them to Sean and Seth if they want to pass anything out to anyone. But on our end, again, AMZ Insiders, we do this all day long. We're having a lot of fun here in 2023. If you guys are interested in talking to us, you can feel free to scan the barcode or just go to callamz.com. And you can connect with us directly for we'd love to learn more about your business, where you're at, and see if there's an opportunity to help you out. Again, our community is a little different. We work with Sean and Seth. We work with all sorts of people in the industry. We're not we bring in the best that we can to work with people like Sean and Seth, as I mentioned. So we're very open and collaborative, very similar philosophy as Sean and Seth, that we can all win together. So the only other thing I want to give you that Schulix thing, and then I'll hand it back over to Seth there. Where was my little, I'm not going to even go through any of this stuff because this was the one thing Schulix gave was, I think I put on this link here, prepwell.com, we linked up, but this AMZ Insiders 98, there is some little commission. I don't care about whatever thing is, but it will give you an entire month of this tool, which to me is pretty awesome. I do pay the $100 itself because it is, awesome for your product research. So that's you have to put that code in. You got to go to this little URL, and that is it. Other than, again, we'd love to hear from you guys if you're interested in this stuff. We do, I think we do run like this AI mastermind. We've got people, we got some heavy hitters that join us. There are guys like Steve Simonson, some guys, these are some multiple 7-figure sellers where we just kind of geek out on this stuff and share amongst ourselves what we're using and what's actually working. So with that, I'll hand it back to you guys, Seth.
Great company. Seth,
Thanks
whenever
so much
you're
for
ready.
that, Jamie. It seems like every time you jump on, talk about AI, we pick up something new, and we try to keep our ears to the ground. So it looks like you guys are in the right rooms for AI for sure. So thanks for sharing, Jamie. This has been great.
Yes, it has. And look who's in the room. Isaiah. He taught me how to actually spell Isaiah 3 or 4 times. So all you have to do, you guys, to get this right, like Isaac, Isaiah, all these biblical names are pretty difficult. It's ISA, which anyone can remember, and then remember the airport code for George Bush Intercontinental in Houston, IAH, which is one of my hobbies.
Way too complicated, Sean.
That's complicated.
It's easier to just remember the name.
Yes, and not have to spell it. So, ladies and gentlemen, futurists, innovators, aspiring entrepreneurs, gather around your screens, put down the stale office coffee, and listen up. We're about to introduce someone who's making the rest of us look like we've been moving in slow motion. Now, some of us had lemonade stands as kids, right? Maybe we made a few bucks. Maybe we got shut down by the homeowners association. Well, our next speaker, the incomparable Isaiah, had a lemonade empire by the time he was just 10. I kid you not. In fact, Isaiah is not your run-of-the-mill success story. No, sirree. He turned those lemons as a child into a successful business faster than you can say easy peasy lemon squeezy. Nowadays, Isaiah and Brexton are the brains behind the new Ecom Summit, a venture that's shaking up our industry. Trust me when I say this guy isn't just living in the future. He is building it. At the ripe old age of like 12, he's already accomplished most of us have on our maybe someday list, right? And when the stars align right, if you're feeling just a little bit inferior right now, like I am in this company, don't worry. We're all in the same boat, except the boat that we're in is a yacht, and Isaiah built it himself while writing a best-selling book, I bet. But he's not just about business. He's a complete package of wit, wisdom, and willingness to share his knowledge with us all. So grab a notepad, grab an iPad. For the love of progress, at least open up a Google Doc, because you're going to want to jot down some of the pearls of wisdom he's about to drop. Without further ado, let's give him a warm, enthusiastic, emoji-filled welcome in the chat box. The one and only, undeniably extraordinary Brexton Bennet and Isaiah Fritz. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Oh,
Holy
man.
cow.
I was
going to get on and hype Isaiah up.
Oh,
that was going to be my job.
I'm trying to show you how you need to introduce people at your next event.
Yeah. Isaiah, you take it away.
Go for it, buddy. You deserve it.
Well, I really appreciate it. And so I didn't know you knew all about my lemonade stand.
Hey, buddy, I got people.
Okay.
Don't underestimate the other man's greed.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so part of the real story is it was actually a chicken empire by the age of 10. And so I had like 48 chickens, and there was a lot of egg laying around, but the rats got into the pen and stole a lot of the eggs. And so it kind of put me out of business. And then I had bought rat poison, but still it made me shift my mindset towards e-commerce. So I decided to focus more on e-commerce, and my mom had been selling on eBay since 1999, and so I was like, hey mom, can I sell this Lego set? And so she's like, sure. And then so I sold this Lego set, and it was my first thing I sold on eBay, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go to yard sales with my mom and buy stuff and flip it. And so I ended up flipping and just kept flipping, and now we flipped almost $40 million worth of product is the short story. But anyway, Sean's intro was way more interesting than that. But I would
don't sell yourself short, buddy.
But anyway, so yeah, I really appreciate you having me on today, and I got a wonderful crowd, and so he's right. Me and Brexton have definitely been working on this Ecom Summit, and we're really trying to focus on not just going to like a Prosper, a show where you just have a bunch of service providers and a bunch of booths, and then you go to the speaker sessions, and then it's kind of just like a bunch of service providers pitching you or whatever. We want to actually focus on providing value to sellers. I'm in the weeds every single day with Amazon, managing my 8-figure Amazon business. And so, we're definitely trying to create something where you're, number one, networking with other sellers like yourself. You're talking about relative issues, but anyone that's on stage is creating an atmosphere where you can work together on some sort of, we call it mentors instead of speakers. And so we want people that are really mentors, that are open to talk about whatever they're going through, whatever problems you're going through. You can definitely have a two-way conversation from in the crowd and up on stage. And so Brexton, go ahead and talk a little bit more about that.
Why don't you jump to we'll maybe give a little more info about Ecom Summit and how we're helping sellers with it at the end, and then you can talk a little bit about some of your strategies with partnering with brands.
Absolutely. So before we get too deep on Ecom Summit, I'm going to talk a little bit more about my story and my chicken empire that failed and got turned into an e-commerce empire right now. So can I go ahead and share my screen?
Yes, sir. It's all yours.
Awesome. Going to go ahead and do that. And
we got you.
Pull up my PowerPoint here.
Spoken in the true redneck lingo of Southern Indiana.
That's right. So let me, I'm not a corporate expert, and so I'm not a expert in this sort of PowerPoint world, but I think it went on the wrong screen here. So just give me 1 second. Stop sharing. Share it on the correct screen. Perfect. All right. Does everybody see my partnership model?
We got it.
Awesome.
Full speed ahead.
Sounds good. Okay. So, all right. So when I started, like I said, I was hustling yard sales. I was doing retail arbitrage and, doing the whole thing. And then I ended up getting into wholesale. I tried my hand on private label. I did a lot of things. And so what I ended up doing is, and what I do now is I partner with brands that are already existing brands, but they're non-Amazon focused brands. And I plug in my Amazon expertise to their brand expertise and create value for both parties. So when you're looking at the different business models in Amazon, a lot of people talk about private label. A lot of people talk about wholesale, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, but not a lot of people are talking about brand partnerships, is where I've really focused my time and energy on. And if you look at the top 10 biggest Amazon sellers in the world, most of them are focused on brand partnerships. And so one of those being Pattern, which does $1 billion in revenue every single year on Amazon, does the model that I'm about to show you. And so, there's a lot of pros and cons, different models, but private label, you can see on the screen, here's kind of like some pros and cons to it. Wholesale, you got, private label, it's really hard to make money quickly. You're going to make money down the road, like 6-18 months later. Wholesale, you're going to have, those quick profits, which everybody likes, that you can just buy a product and flip it and resell it. But the problem with it is you also have very quick losses, and you're always hunting and you're fighting against the buy box with everyone. And it's not very scalable. Now, there's some people that scale wholesale really well, but even the people that are doing $100 million a year on wholesale are still reaching out to me and asking me, Isaiah, what's this brand partnership model? Because you still get the quick profits with wholesale, but you have a longer profit horizon because you're going to be working with that brand for years. You don't have to fight over the buy box, and you just have to hunt once. So today, I'm going to show you how to get a brand exclusive with you in 60 days without having to fight over the buy box again, and 5x your profits and the brand's profit while all this is happening. So this is truly a win-win situation business model, and you should definitely give this some time in thought, because this is where I found my success. I'm shutting down my wholesale business of just buying from distributors and flipping product, and being one of those guys to just very much focus on just brand exclusives. And that is a big for us, because we went from just a guy flipping chicken eggs to ended up flipping Lego sets to flipping whatever else, and to now we're just working directly with brands solving their problems. So I'll tell a little bit more about my story. So this is my family here. We're from Indiana. That's one thing that I'm very proud to have in common with our host here, Sean Hart. And so I come from a big family, and I've already talked a little bit about my mom and dad, and they're the ones who kind of got me into business. And so it's really, anyway, if I didn't have such awesome family, I wouldn't be here where I'm at today. So I love to point that out. So I have here my original facility. I always try to keep things lean. So I think this is a really cool part about my story, how I got into it. I was doing the wholesale arbitrage and everything, and now I was like, hey, I'm gonna create my warehouse as part of my garage. And so this is kind of where I started. So I started where most of you guys started, just out of your garage. And now I'm in a 60,000 square foot facility, but it definitely it took its time to get there. And so one thing, when I was doing this retail arbitrage and I was hustling and I was doing all of this, I was buying a lot from liquidation. I was making really good profits with liquidation. Then all of a sudden, I get an email. I have a counterfeit complaint. And I'm sure a lot of you have had those IP complaints, those counterfeit complaints. So I got that email and I was like, okay, wasn't too worried. I was like, all right, I just won't sell that product again. Well, then I got another one, and then I got another one. And I got 3 counterfeit complaints, and Amazon ended up holding back my payment and said, hey, you have to prove that these products are authentic. So I went out and I tried to prove that these products are authentic. They said you didn't have good enough invoices from the manufacturers or distributors. So I had, I didn't know what to do. So they shut down my Amazon account, and they kept $40,000 from me for 8 months. And it wasn't until I was able to reach out to some high up guy at Amazon, Jeff Bezos' technical advisor, which through LinkedIn, by the way. So definitely use social media to try to reach out to Amazon for major problems. That's one of the big things I learned. I was able to have my account back in 48 hours, which at first I was like, I'm never going to sell on Amazon again. But if I do, I'm only going to sell to manufacturers, distributors. So I went on Google, I typed in manufacturers near me, and I ended up finding this candle company. And so I ended up working with the candle company, and this is kind of how the model went. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I needed to buy from manufacturers or distributors. So I said, hey, you guys are selling on your own website. You're not selling on Amazon. I will sell the products on Amazon for you. And then, we'll do some sort of revenue share. So we kind of worked out a really nice model where, I didn't get paid unless I made the money, and they didn't get paid unless I sold products. So it was really loose local partnership, really very Indiana organically grown partnership. And we ended up growing that to $2 million in revenue very quickly. And I learned the power of a brand partnership. So my thing is, with Amazon, you really need to think long-term. A lot of people are thinking, hey, how can I make money on Amazon short-term, which is fine. It's great if you're wanting to do wholesale, or if you're wanting to just go to Alibaba, find a product that, everybody, is selling yellow rubber duckies, and you see their search volume for purple rubber duckies. So let me go to Alibaba, buy a purple rubber ducky, and sell it on Amazon. Okay, great. But guess what? 6-9 months down the road, some other Chinese factory is going to see that there's also search volume for that, and they're going to sell the same purple rubber ducky. And so unless you have a brand, you're not going to win long-term on Amazon or on e-commerce. So if you're going to build or sell a brand on Amazon, you could either build a brand or build partnerships. with brands. And it's very difficult to build a brand right. But if there's somebody out there that's built a brand outside of Amazon and they've grown it, but they're not very good at focusing on it on Amazon, but they're good at selling at retail stores or selling on their own website, those are perfect customers for us Amazon experts to just plug in our knowledge directly to them. So I got some stats on the screen a little bit about the difference between building a partnership and building a brand, which, by the way, if you can build a brand, I'm not talking about just private label where you're just selling another Me Too product that you find on Alibaba. I'm talking about actually building a brand that will last you 5+ years. That brand will last, but you're going to take a while until you receive profits because you're going to have to reinvest everything back into that brand, most likely. But if you build a partnership, you can sign a partnership and start seeing profit month 2 very easily. Month 1 even possible, but 2 pretty easily. These type of partnership models are sellable. I just had a friend who sold at 2.5% EBITDA. A lot of people don't think that a partnership company like that I'm talking about is sellable, but it is. Now, it might not be as sellable and have as most multiples as your brand is going to have, but it's still sellable. You're still going to have to do Amazon platform operations if you build your own brand or if you partner with someone else's brand. But with building your own brand, you're going to have to find the perfect product. You're going to have to import that product. You're going to have to get customers, do all of the marketing, D2C site, etc., to really build out your brand, and product development to make sure your product is way better than all the competition all the time. So that's takes time and effort. But if you just build a partnership with someone who's already doing that, you just basically onboard the brand and just take advantage of their existing product and their sales and their customers and just accelerate that growth because you're an Amazon expert. And I found this model works for me. So here's a little bit of numbers of what we have done here. So we, if you can see on the left here, sorry, my slide's a little bit messed up. I had this fixed, but anyway, no problem. As you can see, I'm not a corporate expert, but I'm an entrepreneur. So we start off on the left side talking about how this brand was on Amazon, right? They were doing $120,000 in total Amazon revenue. Now, 60,000 of that revenue was through us, a wholesale seller. So we were a big customer of theirs. We were doing half their revenue. We were doing about a 9% net margin, which gave us about $5,000 in profit a year. We only had control about 50% of the buy box. There was only 2 ASINs on Amazon, and that company, Dakota Lithium, had a lot more products that were not listed. There was some prime shipping options, some not. There was many sellers, and there was no advertising at all because none of the sellers cared about advertising. There was 1 photo on the listings, no storefronts or A+ content, and the price was constantly erased to the bottom. And I'm sure you wholesale sellers out there, or even if you're private labeled, you're looking at some of your competitors that are brands, you kind of see this sort of thing where it's like they're not really focusing on Amazon. A bunch of random people are selling it, and there's just all kinds of problems with the listings. And sometimes you think, man, if only I took over that brand, I would just have to make a few tweaks to scale the profitability. And so I seen that, and I was able to talk to the brand and convince the brand to say, hey, why don't you go exclusive with us? And if you go exclusive with us, we'll list everything in your product catalog, and we'll fix all these other problems like optimizing your listing, and we'll spend money on ads. So we're able to do that. And just within 2 months, we're able to grow to 1.5 million in yearly revenue, which, obviously in 2 months, that was our run rate, which ended up happening. And at a higher margin because we were able to raise the price points to MAP pricing, which a lot of expensive brands even like MAP pricing. They want the same price on their website as on Amazon. And they don't like Amazon being lower, which is understandable to protect their brick and mortar relationships. So we were able to do 100% buy box control by working with the brand to control distribution, list 8 ASINs on Amazon, be the only seller, do advertising, do full 7 photos on Amazon, storefront, A+, price control, all of that stuff, which, as you can see, made us a lot more money. And so I promised a 5x this was way more than 5x. And a lot of the brands we work with, it's way more than 5x. But I just, decided, hey, I'll just shoot a low number of 5x. So right here, we did this in 60 days. And I think that is what is so important, to think this does not necessarily take years to do. As long as you can convince the brand to let you have a shot at it, it can go fairly quickly. So you might be wondering, Isaiah, this sounds great. I want to make more money. But how in the world am I going to convince this big brand to work with me? Well, I am going to show you today how to approach a brand, and also give you some tips how you can start this very quickly. And even today, where you can start getting some leads of some brands from your own contact list that you have right now in your phone, to go ahead and start implementing this right away. So first off, I have a step-by-step guide that with over 85 values that we provide brands. So one thing is, when you have to have the mindset that you're not just about making more money, you have to be thinking, how can I actually provide value to the brand? What does the brand want to accomplish on Amazon? Obviously, they want to have a beautiful listing. They want to have prime shipping, and they want to have advertising. They want to do all these things. And a lot of this stuff is common sense to private label sellers, or, it's like, yeah, obviously that's what you need. Maybe not common sense to these brands. So you have to convince them, hey, there's so much value you can bring. But so I want you to go ahead and scan this. And so you can go ahead and get some, you pull out your phones, scan it, and you can go ahead and save this value for yourself. So you can say, hey, here's 85 values that you can bring. So while you're doing that, which I want everybody to do, I want to tell you how you can, so these are the values you can bring a brand. And I even show you your first message to send the brand and everything when you scan this. But I want to say this real quick, how to actionably know what brands to go after. So if you're new to this, you don't have any case studies or anything, this is what I did to start. Is I went to my phone, which I'm hoping all of you that are on the Zoom call today have a phone. And I went to my contact list, and I wrote a text message that said, hey, have you ever looked for a product on Amazon and couldn't find it? Or have you looked for a product on Amazon and it was just way more expensive on Amazon than it was at other places? So I sent this text message to 100 people, right? And I want you to do that. Go ahead and send it to 100 people or 200 people or 500 people, because the more responses you get, the better. And you're going to get responses of people that say, yeah, I've searched for blah, blah, blah cleaner on Amazon and I couldn't find it. Or I searched for this and I couldn't find it. And these are automatic, easy, no helium-10 required, no keyword research, nothing. This is real life examples of people that that are searching for these products and they're not on Amazon. Those types of brands are the easiest to approach. So you can immediately call those brands, especially if they're smaller brands, and say, hey, I see that you're not on Amazon at all. Why don't you let me be your exclusive Amazon partner, and I will grow you on Amazon. And the best, especially if it's a local company that you can meet them face to face, I would definitely do that, and you can grow them and take them to the next level. So that's what I highly recommend as an actionable tip, to go ahead and get a list of brands to start working with, and then scan this code, which hopefully most of you already did, and you can kind of see I'm going to go ahead and scan it right now, but you can see the value that or I'm sorry, not the value, the scripts that I wrote out on how to communicate with the brand, some first emails, some things you can call them and say. And then, hey, you can, if they say, hey, what value can you bring me by partnering with me? It's like, hey, here's tons of values. And you just don't do all 85 to start, just pick a few. And then from there, you can go ahead and close it. So another thing that you'll see at the bottom as you go, we're always looking for brands that need help on Amazon. So if you say, hey, Isaiah, I don't want to do this. Well, still, if you know brands that are established on Amazon, or there's other people selling them and they're having Amazon headaches, and they need a partner like us. If you refer them and use our infrastructure to solve their problems, we will give you 1% of the revenue. So if we do $1 million a year with them, which is most of our lower clients, we try to do larger clients, do $1 million a year, you're going to get $10,000 a year just by referring them to us, and you don't have to do anything but a phone call. So anybody out there that knows somebody that needs us on a bigger scale, please do that. But my biggest recommendation is that you do this yourself, and you can go ahead and make money. So anyway, that's all I have on my my slides today. And so I'm going to hand it back over to Brexton to talk a little bit more about Ecom Summit and Sean. So go ahead.
Brexton, let's hear it, man. This is something that's got me super excited, folks. Brexton foolishly invited me to join him in Chicago for his event, and I was completely blown away by the sheer volume of amazing entrepreneurs just like you who were there. And the format, Brexton, was something that the industry hasn't even seen yet. So let me shut up, do a quick blurb for your event coming up in Orlando, because I will be there, my friend.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate the chance to share. The background really began where Isaiah, who has a ton of experience selling, and myself teamed up. My background is in education, and I've spent a lot of years figuring out ways to break up the traditional classroom and create a better learning environment. We started going to a lot of events together and just really were disappointed with a lot of what we were seeing. And we put together something that doesn't really exist in the Amazon industry. It's a chance where we feel like our biggest advantage is we don't have any kind of upsell. This isn't about leveraging it or promoting any kind of software service. We just put value in learning for Amazon sellers first. So it's all about getting a limited amount of 6, 7, and 8-figure sellers all together. We get rid of speakers, and we found mentors, or people who are really serious about bringing serious value to sellers. They sit down, we get really hands-on. We all sit together at a table together with our laptops out. We go over problems that sellers are going through right now, and we look for solutions. We walk people through what they need to do to make big changes that are going to make lasting impact on their business long term. We're going to be in Orlando next, October 17th and 18th.
Yeah.
And it's perfect timing actually, because we want to get on here and let everybody know. You have the chance to lock in an early bird ticket. Ends tomorrow, so you can get $400 off your ticket. We're really trying to make this a no-brainer for sellers. In fact, if you add the code PROFIT, you can get a $50 more off your ticket. And it's a really exciting chance to join a community of like-minded sellers who are serious about collaborating and sharing ideas.
Great. Uh-oh. There we go. Brexton, again, it's ecomsummit.com. And what was that discount code?
PROFIT.
PROFIT. Okay, sorry, I plugged in a device at the last minute here and it messed up everything. So
No,
No,
Isaiah,
that's all right.
I'm humbled, my friend. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Even though you started out before you were out of diapers, you've come a long way, my friend. And I appreciate you and your willingness to share and open up your strategies and your genius for others out there. Any questions for the dynamic duo here before we move on to the next speaker?
Some people are just asking for the recording. So guys, if you want the recording, it will be up tomorrow. It will be at postpurchasepro.com/MC for Masterclass. So you guys can check out that recording tomorrow, or you can search it on YouTube. So it'll be up tomorrow, guys. Brexton and Isaiah, thank you so much. This has been great.
See you guys. I'll see you in Orlando, if not before then.
All right, guys, everybody come to Orlando. Can't wait to see you.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right.
Okay, Seth, moving on. We have one of my favorites in the house. This was a last-minute stand-in, so I want to let you know who's up next. Let's see. Is he here yet?
Well, let's take a look.
If he is, then I have a introduction.
He is not here, Sean.
Uh-oh. This is 2 p.m., right?
Restarting the computer, it says. He's having a little technical issue here.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm super impressed with Brexton and Isaiah, the gentleman who you just met. So I met Brexton and Seth. You didn't meet him that night, but we talked about it soon after. It was at an after party, we'll call it, at SellerCon in Austin. And I was so impressed by Isaiah and his drive and the grit that he had to go out there and create something in the middle of nowhere, working out of a tiny little garage and then build a pole barn. And him and I were sharing all these war stories about me. I got started on my entrepreneurial path at a very young age, and I know you did as well. But I was like Brexton. I too drove a U-Haul box truck around for fun. I mean, that's what I hauled my business in. And he was like, I remember him telling me the story. Why doesn't everyone drive a U-Haul truck around? You can haul so much more stuff. And, he's doing this as a teenager. So I have a special place for Isaiah, not only because he's obviously brilliant, but my son Cash, whom I'm always bragging about, is also on an entrepreneurial path. And, there's my friend. Don't say anything yet. I'm going to introduce you. I've written something special for you. But I highly, highly recommend that you do two things. Reach out to Isaiah, pick his brain. He's got a wealth of knowledge there and super humble and willing to share that. And also come to Ecom Summit Orlando, or at the very least, at least purchase the streaming version of it. So, Seth, we're about a minute behind here, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next guest. And I apologize if my German is a little bit rusty, but I'm sure my friend will pick on me. Quick audio, say hello. So make sure your speaker's working, or you're muted there.
Test.
Okay, test is good. So here we go. I'm going to say Guten Tag, ladies and gentlemen. Is that okay?
That was pretty perfect.
E-commerce aficionados and Amazon warriors. Here's what I want you to do. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, all right, Sean, another speaker is going to try to sell me a life-changing vegetable chopper or a vacuum cleaner that's also a pet groomer. Don't worry. This is no ordinary speaker. Set down that bratwurst and that stein of beer, because we've got something echt toll, or should I say really awesome, coming your way. Our next guest, he's like the Sherlock Holmes of product sourcing, but with less of a British accent and more of a German engineering vibe. I want you to meet Sebastian, the founder and CEO of Signify. You know how you spend hours, days, even weeks trying to find the new suppliers that you need on Alibaba, getting lost in a maze of hyperlinks, endless tabs, and yes, falling victim to that contact supplier button for something you don't really need. Well, Sebastian has the magic, or should I say Zauberei, to make that painful journey a joyful sprint. His company Signify is like a fairy godmother for Amazon sellers. Only instead of pumpkin carriage, you get a powerful team that uncovers untapped suppliers from around the globe in seconds flat. Forget Cinderella. Sebastian makes you feel like Jeff Bezos at the stroke of midnight. Now, Sebastian isn't just a sourcing wizard. He's also a pretty cool guy. He's got the classic German Gemütlichkeit, if I said that right, which means he's as warm and cozy as a freshly baked pretzel. So ready your questions. Keep your fingers hovering over the keyboard, because you're going to want to grab every golden nugget of wisdom he throws your way. So, liebe Freunde, let's give a hearty welcome to a warm welcome, that is, to the brilliant and ingenious, the man who's making Amazon product sourcing as efficient as a German train schedule, Sebastian from Signify. Welcome.
Sean, I mean, there's literally no better salesperson than you. I had to mute myself. I was cracking up here. I don't think I've ever had such an introduction. That was such an honor. I need that recording. Julia's going to love you for that.
All right. So we're about 4 minutes behind. I know you have a treasure trove of content. So I'm going to let you catch up like the German train schedule, and I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you so much. I know that you're on the road and you've taken the time to fill in a slot here. Don't go anywhere, folks. You're going to be blown away by Sebastian. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much as well. There's only one little mistake in there, Sean. German train schedules, forget about them. They're always late, and that is why the reason I was running to get here. I took the train today. Swiss train schedules, they're on time. Everybody thinks the Germans are, forget it. It's Deutsche Bahn is boom, forget it. It's really not the greatest.
Well, welcome anyway, and go ahead and share your slides.
I'll do my best. Let me jump into the presentation. And I prepared a little bit, of course, for you. Question, can you see the screen? Can you see the sourcing in countries other than China and a few packs? I won't bore you, I hope, with all of them, but my target is to show you just, some potentials of what is possible and try to show you a few of the ways what can one do and how it can be done. So mostly, of course, I do understand, I guess we have US sellers on here. This is a very, very, very good market in order to save money. Why? Well, thank you, Donald Trump. Since 2018, you've started a economical war with the Chinese. You're putting loads and loads of anti-dumping tariffs onto products. And I want to show you a few examples of, if the slides now also work, here we go, of what some of our customers have done. Now, if you imagine that you are, for example, you're having a product, $6 a piece, buying it from China, and you're having 27% import tax. This seems to be a quite common situation. I'm putting this one out because it is actually summing up to quite a bit. Now, Target was one of the customers. He came to us and said, "Julia, Sebastian, can you help us? We want this product from outside of China because of those 27% import tax." And we were super lucky. I'm usually saying it's never going to happen again. And that we found in 3 hours of work, we found a new supplier in Vietnam. Target is always same or better quality. And if I'm saying us, you can do the same. And I want to show you how and where you can do this. To find other suppliers, for example, in other countries. Now, on top of that, the lucky shot there was also is that you may find cheaper producers in China as well. You may also find them in Vietnam. We found one in Vietnam, or in other countries, of course. Now, and this whole thing added up that he is selling 500,000 units, not even selling on Amazon. They're just getting started. So those are quite some pros who do Shopify the right way. And that's orders of like $3 million. Now, if you're looking at this, every single one, $1 cheaper, finding a supplier in Vietnam, or it doesn't matter where, he saves $500,000 a year just on the product, and 27% import tax are $810,000 of anti-dumping tariffs, where the US government just takes this as soon as it hits the border, and that added up altogether into like $1.31 million. And I just broke this down. If you calculate this into 3 hours, that's an hourly wage of $400 and close to $40,000 in a single hour. But that's also not really true, because those savings now come every year for that customer. And if you have a government like ours in Germany, you'll know that those $1.31 million, they're being spent on the wrong things, not on what you need, but what anybody else out there may need or may not need. To be honest, me personally, if I can avoid it on a legal way, I would like to keep those $810,000 of import anti-dumping taxes for myself and for the business. Now, another example is funny. The first one was a German guy selling in the US. This one is an Austrian guy also selling in the US. And I mean, this guy has some balls, really. He started finding a new supplier. Funny here as well, a new supplier in Vietnam. Original problem was that he had quality issues with the supplier, and secondly, the amount of products the supplier couldn't keep up with. So same thing, found a new supplier in Vietnam, plus 12% savings. Why do I say he has balls? Well, his first order with the new supplier was $500,000. I mean, those are, of course, all big examples. But 12% savings immediately were $60,000. And back then, we didn't even look into the import tariffs that have changed. But even just on this, imagine on the products that you may have to save 12%. And for sure, I mean, $500,000 order, not everybody has this a year. That's why I'm going to come to a few smaller examples as well. But just look at the potential that there is when you think about your best sellers or some of your best sellers and say, hey, what if I could save $1 or $5, depending on how much you spend on the product, or even if it's just 50 cents. If you're selling 10,000 units of that a year, that's $5,000 in clean savings. Or if it's $5,000 in clean savings, or if the product is more expensive and you would save $5 on it, that's $50,000 just in product savings. And now to all, of course, we have most of our project savings customer, or the savings project customers, are coming from the US simply for the anti-dumping tariffs. And if you can on top there also save some additional money, fantastic. Another example, cosmetics producer, a German guy selling in Germany, and that was a very, very lucky shot for him as well, doing this just before an exit. Started working with him, and even just looking into a cosmetics producer, looking into the jars, looking into the lids, looking into the packaging, looking into the raw material, the ingredients, and also the supplier or producer himself. And it was possible to save this guy within the first 8 months, it's actually 1.4 million euros, which I think is $1.52 million or so. It's also not the smallest one, $24 million revenue a year, but that's some solid savings that you can literally have and take this money and either spend on a new product, spend it on better sales and marketing to have, to also place yourself higher up, put yourself in the top left corner and still make money, just beat your competition. If you imagine, for example, you just have $100,000 on annual spendings and orders for production and logistics, and you save 12%, that's $12,000. That's $1,000 a month, which I'm quite sure Sean and Seth, they would be very happy about this additional $1,000. But I know they also do a very, very good job of, doing the email marketing as well and helping with those additional $1,000 or whatever it will cost. Help you bring out more of your sales, make your products even more successful, or spend it on great Amazon images, or spend it on additional products that you want to start selling. So the savings point is coming up like crazy. So many people are not just only thinking of sourcing new products, sourcing them from other countries for, the nearshoring, of getting products faster, cheaper delivery, ordering in smaller batches, but at the same time also, of course, thinking of, hey, what about the bestsellers? Can we actually get more margin out of there? And that's actually not the one I wanted to show. I want to show this one first. Who could actually save money in general, or should save money? I mean, to be honest, any Amazon seller, any e-com seller, anybody who sells physical products, because you may have heard the phrase, the real money is made in purchasing, not in sales. I usually say it's like, not only in sales, of course, in sales money is made, but the better you buy, this is what determines your margin, especially if you have competition out there who somewhat dictate your price as well, because if they're going lower, you probably got to go lower as well. And we don't want to win the race to the bottom of the price, but we want to win the race of getting the best prices. Now, established sellers and brands, I think that was very, very clear. But also anybody who wants to, and here come two interesting points. An Amazon brand or an e-commerce brand who wants to sell to an aggregator. I don't know if any aggregators are in here right now. I may give you a hard time right now, but I'm coming to try to help you afterwards. If any one of you is planning to sell your business and you have a chance just before the sale to still optimize your purchasing costs and keep it running for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, prove that the quality is good, prove that the supplier can deliver, and all of a sudden you can show better purchasing prices, means you get a much better margin, means you can get an even higher multiple. So a better margin, more profit, plus a higher multiple. This is extremely interesting before selling a brand. So before selling it, think about, take it in like whatever, 9 months, 6 months before of optimizing the prices again. And here comes the other way around. If aggregators right now are listening, we're working with some of the aggregators as well. The good way here is usually to look at a target customer that you want to buy, or a target seller that you want to buy. And before even buying the seller, buying the Amazon business, to already look, what the prices are, what the purchasing costs are, to already start looking into, is that going to be possible to get this product later on for cheaper? Because that would make your purchase, of course, of the Amazon seller or the brand a lot more profitable even in the future without the Amazon seller even knowing. So now you see, I try to talk on both sides. For the seller, don't tell the aggregator tell the aggregator that you actually have even better prices, and the aggregators themselves, on the other hand, or anybody who's a strategic buyer, to look into the business, to know it's like, all right, you get a good deal there, but can you actually get more out of it because you know there will be better prices? And of course, anybody who doesn't or prefers not to spend too much. Sean, I guess you bought a little bit of products in your life. What if you would have saved 10%? How much would that mean for you?
Holy smokes. I remember the first time I found a pricing breakthrough on one single product saved me over $2 million every single year. And that's just one breakthrough. So I think what I like about what you're doing, Sebastian, is that you understand that it's a war and a balancing act between price and quality. And what I like that you're doing is that you find the best price for similar or better quality, when a lot of unknown sellers will go out and just beat the factory down on price, not really understanding that they're sacrificing quality because that's the only way for the factory to make up the difference. So
yes, exactly. So I don't know if I mentioned it yet or not, but that is the basic requirement. If we look into a new product, or if you look into a new product, please make sure to always look at least for same or better quality. Don't cut down on quality. You have your reviews, you have your system built up, you have the happy customers. Don't now risk your listing with negative reviews. And there's a few hacks actually as well, or a few things that we have done as well with some of the customers, or always recommend. Also, if you do it, of course, on your own. Now, when you get a product, for example, from a new supplier, do not use exactly the same FNSKU or the same barcode or anything. Make it a second child under a parent. Why? Well, for the very simple reason, you'll have two stocks, right? The product, just call it version 2, make a little bit of a change in the image. And all you want to have is, until that first moment of your original product, until it's sold out, the second one will jump in. And you have, of course, all of the reviews counted up. All of the reviews, they stay the same. So there may be a slight overlap of time where you have two products and then just say, oh, this is whatever, version 2, or for whatever reason, it's or just activate it when the first one really goes offline with like 1 or 2 left in stock. Now, the reason why to make it separate is, just imagine there is something going wrong, and you'll detect this later, and maybe something, it's a product issues that only come after using the product for a certain amount of time. You don't want to screw up your listing. So the worst case there is, you have a backup order from your old supplier, you put up the old listing, and you kill or you take out the second child, the new child, from below the parent, instead of mixing it all up in one big bulk bunch and then not being able to separate it anymore. The only thing, in something would go worse, you just cut off the child from the parent and you keep your old listing. Happy, of course, all the time to give hints and hacks. I need to raise, right? So let me quickly go through a few things. Who are we actually? What we're doing? Why am I talking about this? Signify Global Product Sourcing. I'm not sure you heard about us yet, but we're a sourcing team. We've built ourselves up in the last 2 years from 1 person to almost 60 women, and it's nearly all female, if I'm allowed to call myself male. I'm the only guy in the company. My wife and me were the founders. And we do anything from product sourcing, product design, packaging design, technical design, electronical design, product research, product hunting, and all the way to logistics, to finding packaging producers, to quality control, to anything in there. We at the same time we're also sellers. That's why I'm talking from that standpoint. We have 2 own brands. I started my first brand in 2014. And I brought the first brand so far that I have this in a few thousand stores, like big box retail stores here in Germany. And of course, this is another business where I'm helping now, not Signify, but it's another one where I help others to get their successful products into the big box retail. We have, you may have heard of Scale for Retail. We're shareholders of that company. We do worldwide our own e-commerce events, also in the US and all over Europe. And what else do we have? I think this just as a basic background. We have the sourcing team is 100% remote. They sit in every one of the countries where we're sourcing. So we're not only sourcing from China, we're sourcing from Mexico. We're sourcing from, all the Asian countries, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Europe, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Turkey, Mexico, South America, US, Canada, pretty much anywhere. And our team sits right there. So with the more sourcing we get from different countries, the bigger our team will grow because we go into the local factories and do the quality control there. And a few examples of who do we source for? One of them is Amazon itself. So we do the sourcing for Amazon's own brands, like, for example, Amazon Basics or some of the other ones when it comes to outside China. They found us, they discovered us, and interesting thing to know where are they sourcing from. And it's a lot of Vietnam, it's a lot of India, Turkey, Mexico are the main countries where we do the sourcing for Amazon. Now, another one that is public, that is known, Tomer Rabinovich. We work together with him. We've done also sourcing for his new product. An amazing thing, actually. Go look into his Kickstarter campaign. Look at Tomer's. I'm not going to say too much, so I want to, keep up the interest for you. Go have a look at Tomer's product, and then also hint, another one. I found this a genius move. Tomer made the Angry Orange case study. He went in and looked at Thrasio's Angry Orange brand and showed what you can still do better. And we did then the sourcing in the background, even without Thrasio knowing it, doing FBA optimization. So the cost of packaging, and I think we ended up at like 63 or 67 cents savings per purchase. So when they order whatever, like 10,000 units or so a month, they would save 6,300 or 6,700 just in FBA fees by reducing the packaging. This is another big thing for you. Look into the product costs, look into the tariffs, of course, the shipping costs as well, and see if we can find a way of very quickly, very easily reducing the FBA fee by getting you into a smaller packaging level. Now, let me rush through here. What else we do? We sourced more than 3,000 products. We saved, actually, by now we get to more than $500 million in savings, sourcing and outside all the countries. I'll skip those slides, but I put them just on so you can read them later if you want to. What are advantages of sourcing in China and disadvantages? What about outside of China? But this is what I want to show. What kind of products can you actually pretty much source from outside of China? I usually say electronics, of course, heavy, high-tech. And on this phone, I didn't even have it yet. One of my products is a camera cover. Like here, the small slider on the webcam. Those small, tiny plastic products that are being spit out by the machines in 20, 30, 50,000 pieces an hour. Unlikely that a customer, an Amazon buyer, would really put so much value on there if you would say, hey, this is made in the US, a small plastic piece, which is super cheap in China. It's gonna be, I think, quite tough to really put this as a USP. But electronics, of course, as well. China, Taiwan, and a lot of the Chinese are now investing massively into Mexico to build electronic companies there as well. But rest of it, pretty much anything from household goods, garden, kitchen, supplements, beauty, supplements, I just said, toys and everything, you can have in other countries as well. Lots, of course, also in Mexico, even though that is a little bit a special country, as you may all imagine. This is a German slide. I rushed here. I put this in. I hope this still shows you something. Those are the biggest categories that you have in Germany. By the way, anybody who wants to go over to Germany or into the European market, look at that. This was a statistics given by some of the bigger known companies. Electronics, lightings, drugs, beauty, office supplies, computer and accessories, baby, fashion, DIY hardware stores, electronic large devices, animals, kitchen, and in the middle, you see, how much revenue is being done there. And now with this little slide, I wanted to show which ones are usually possible. And it's pretty much anything that you can also source outside of China. And just think about the simple thing of import tariff savings. They came up with charging a market in 2018 worth $250 billion to put at least 25% import tariffs as anti-dumping against Chinese products. Am I saying China is bad? No, hell no. Sorry for swearing. We still do like 40-45% of our projects are still sourcing inside of China. But at the same time, just to show a little bit of a level, 2 years ago, we had about 10% of our projects that were outside of China. Now it's about 55 to 60% of the projects of the sourcing is happening outside of China. So you can see who is also moving there, Amazon itself as well. Now, an example for an easy thing, a child is standing a learning tower. Reasons were nearshoring, getting out of China, political instability. We all had the Corona troubles. We all had whatever the issues there were, the long shipping, the huge shipping costs, Trump and other taxes. And just as an example, what did it cost in China? Leave away the complete import tariffs. But now we continue. I need to, sorry, I have this little bar here seeing myself. I need to move this first. Turkey had $41, Poland had $43, Mexico $47, and in Bulgaria, we even were cheaper than in China. So that is also possible. Especially now, imagine you put this to Mexico. I still dream and wish, of course, to have it a little bit cheaper in Mexico, and especially if we do deeper research. But imagine the short distances. Imagine the no import tariffs. Imagine the faster shipping, the cheaper shipping, the ordering in smaller batches. And now to come to the point, where can you find yourself suppliers, or where are we, of course, also active? Also, Alibaba shows suppliers from outside of China. 1688, to be honest, is specifically for the Chinese, but global sources, Euro pages. In Germany, wer liefert was means like who delivers what. You can check on AliExpress. You can literally also check on all the social medias, because look at the producers. Also, they understood, hey, there's an Instagram. I should show myself out there. I should say, look, I'm producing awesome, great wooden products. I'm producing, oh, by the way, let us share a little bit about how plastic extrusion is working. And you may find them literally also on social media, of course. Find their web pages, Google. In China, you would use the Baidu. Vitamin C connections, knowing people, asking around. A small hint as well, when you talk to one of the suppliers, you go in, and if he doesn't produce it, or he can, let's say, plastic molding, he only does, small parts, he can't make what's the larger one, bumpers for cars, because he doesn't have the machinery park, he doesn't have the right tools. So what could you do with this guy? Go and ask him again. It's like, hey, if you were in my situation, what would you do? Who would you get in contact with? Who would you call? You probably know the industry a lot better. And you may know somebody who produces the big parts. So whom should I get in touch with? Just a simple question to a supplier who can not produce it may help you forward. I'll rush. I ran through a call. All right, all those things I think I should skip right now, what to watch out for. Happy to share more later on. Giving a few hacks. Let me rush through those. Should you get 3 proposals or 30 proposals? Our target is always to find between 30 to 60 potential producers. Why? We get as many reasonable proposals as possible, or quotations. Put them all over in a list, compare all of them, find the reasons why or why not. And only then you have the market price overview, then you can start negotiating. Should you only contact your existing database? No, of course not. Why? Well, because they also will try to cheat you one day. If you come back and bring more orders, they may think it's like, let's see what they do if we raise the prices. If you're working with a sourcing company, big question is, are you getting the data of the suppliers, or are they being kept secret? Do you have to go back to the sourcing company and pay another percentage in order to do reorders? Hint, hint, you don't have to. Is a fixed rate, if somebody offers you sourcing for a fixed rate, is that actually reasonable? No, it's not. Why? Look, we saved this one guy $1.31 million in 3 hours of work. For another one, a seed seller, planting seeds. It was a specific chili plant, and we contacted more than 500 suppliers to find one of them who is willing to grow the plant, harvest it, dry it, grow it again, and deliver 5.5 kg in 1.5 years. So look into those things that it's not possible. Don't get bribes. Don't let your sourcing company take bribes. Look into whether there's a percentage of the order volume really necessary. Are you paying to the supplier or to the sourcing company? Who does the quality control? Can you do this there locally? And the rest, you know what? Just Sean, I see you unmuted yourself. It's 8:29 p.m. So I have 1 more minute. I hope I caught up with the next.
You're fine. I just want to know what the undercover hack is. Is this like don't pretend like you're the boss?
I mean, this is one of the things. It's a great hint. No, but the undercover hack is if you go to your own supplier, send somebody else with a different email address, and ask them against and find out, like, what do they offer actually to new customers? What are the new prices? And they may sell you for those other prices over. They just overprice you. Here's a last one. I am on time. I caught up with 4 minutes. Scan this code. If you want to have a look, we'll take some time. We take about like 30 minutes to look into your current sourcing situation for free. We'll give you some consulting about there, and there will be one lucky winner who will get the initial sourcing stage of the verification stage, which is usually 6 hours in China, where we see, hey, is it possible to find any producers, or 10 hours if we source in the rest of the world for free. With this, Sean, thank you so much for inviting me that spontaneously, and I hope it was a machine gun style
Thanks
again.
for showing up. This was just like a German train, only your train was nonstop. Choo choo. Listen, hey guys, every single time, absolutely every single time that I engage with Sebastian, either on WhatsApp, a voicemail, an email, in person, he always brings value. I highly recommend. I give you 6 stars, Sebastian. I highly recommend that you reach out and at least have him take a look. Funny story, and I forgive me, our next speaker, you're the last one, so we can go a tiny bit over here. But funny story, I'm sitting in a pool with my German neighbor in Florida. He's bummed because he can't find his favorite beer that he's been drinking for years and years. And so I said, "What's going on, Klaus?" And he says, "Well, I don't have because I give him, one of my Michelob Ultra. It's like a girl beer, right?" And he goes, "I like the beer. I can chew it up before I swallow it. It's called," what was it called, Sebastian?
Walters or so.
Walters, there you go. I said, "Why can't you find it?" He goes, "Well, my supplier in New York can't get it anymore, and there's no other distributors in the U.S. I just can't find it. Woe is me." And I said, "Wait a second." I call Sebastian on WhatsApp. It's like, "I'm going to try this guy out. Sebastian, you see this beer right here? I'm in the pool, right?" He goes, "Yeah, let me get a closer look." So he takes a screenshot. He said, "What about it?" I was like, "My friend here, Klaus. Say hello, Klaus." And Klaus says, "Oh, hello, Sebastian." And, he's 79 years old. He says he can't get his beer anymore. And Sebastian says, "Why?" So, "Well, his supplier dried up. He's been buying for 20 years. He can't find it." He said, "I'll call you back." Less than 10 minutes later, Sebastian calls, said, "Hey, check your email. I just sent you the name of his distributor in Miami who's willing to sell him all the beer he wants. He doesn't have to pay sales tax, and he can get it for a better price, and it gets more quantity, and he'll always have it available for him." So Klaus drove to Miami, 3 hours away, and brought back a Lexus full of beer, and he's the happiest German person I've seen in years. So what you do works, whether it's U.S., China, Korea, or Germany. You can find a supplier. Thank you so much, Sebastian. Hope you enjoyed your time with us today.
Thanks,
Thank
Sebastian.
you very much
That was
as well.
awesome. Yeah.
What does that teach us? I think German beer makes happy, right?
Beer.
Thank you, guys.
See you.
Thank you.
See you in Seattle. All right, folks. The time has come. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to grab your calculators, hold on to your receipts, and put on your favorite I Love Spreadsheets t-shirt and brace yourselves. Because if you're like me, you probably before thought accounting for Amazon sellers is like doing Sudoku puzzles blindfolded, or like herding cats while juggling chainsaws. I want you to meet my longtime friend, Nachman from Connect Books, the man who turns those financial jigsaws into child's play. Let's give a big expense deductible welcome to the guy who'll make your bottom line feel like a punchline. Nachman, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Thanks so much for that intro. That's so welcome.
Yeah, we're excited to have you today. So we'll let you take it away. If any questions pop up along the way, guys, just put them in the chat box, and then I'll shoot them over to you, okay?
All righty. Perfect.
All right.
Okay. Can everybody see my screen? Seth, can you see my screen?
All good.
We got it.
All righty. So hi, everyone. My name is Nachman. I'm the founder and CEO of Connect Books. And in this slide, we'll be discussing, we're going to jump to the second slide here, the art of comparison. So we're gonna take a different angle from the accounting analytics point of view. We're gonna discuss more where comparison comes into play, and this really what I'm going to be sharing with you today is stuff that I have been spending time with $70 million sellers. So sellers doing around 70 million annually. They exposed to me how they're currently reviewing and analyzing their data. And this is where we based a lot of information off of. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you. Now, before I jump into the whole deal of the art of the comparison, I want to bring it more on a personal level. And I'm going to share with you a story that I had in the beginning when I first started out my business. So when I first started out, I do run a different company, a bookkeeping business, and that's the whole idea how I got into Connect Books. But when I started my first business, it's a bookkeeping business. We were doing bookkeeping, and I hired my first employee, and I thought everything was amazing. And I was able to delegate, and I got like 3 to 4 hours of my day off. And, like just someone else was doing stuff because I was always being bombarded with, messages back and forth. So I got my first employee in, and they just started taking stuff over. Long story, 2 months later, I had more clients. I needed more help. So I hired my second employee. And the second employee, I literally saw that she was able to accomplish like 5 times more than the first employee. And I really realized at that point that the first employee was just not doing their job. Whatever they were doing, they were just, giving me excuses, making up stories and saying that it takes too long and it's a lot of time. And, and I had no clue because I was, coming already with 6-7 years of bookkeeping experience and being an accountant and all that. I thought that I'm amazing and I can speed through stuff really fast. And in reality, the employee goes, slower and it takes them longer, and it's understandable. But when I hired the second employee, I realized, she's playing around. She's playing games. So what happened was like 2 weeks later, I just had to let her go. And I told her it's not working out. And the second employee actually took over a lot and accomplished, 5 times more than the first employee. So what I learned out of this, and this is really what I call the art of the comparison, is you might think something is good, and you won't know till it's good till you see it's bad. So for example, I thought my first employee was amazing, but when I hired my second employee, I really saw that the second employee is really good, and I understood that the first one was bad. So when you compare your numbers and all the other stuff together, which will go into our deck, that's really where that's going to bring you the most clarity in what's going on in your business and how to really understand your numbers on a deeper level. So let's dive into it. So just a bit background about myself. I graduated from FTU with a master's degree in accounting. I used to work as a CFO for a wholesale kitchen company with over 25,000 different SKUs. That's gave me a strong background in terms of understanding inventory management, which proper inventory management, proper cost of goods sold, that is the key and lifeline of an Amazon business, because if cost of goods sold is off at $200,000, then your P&L is off at $200,000. I started my first bookkeeping company in 2017. I've been in the bookkeeping accounting industry, I worked before that as a CFO, but then in 2017 is where I started my bookkeeping company. And I also volunteer and teach in the local community. I teach bookkeeping and accounting. All right, so let's get into the art of the comparison. So the first question is, what we're trying to focus on is, a lot of people are using like a repricer, or a lot of people are using, let's say you hire a new person to take care of your ads. Let's say you increase the price or you decrease the price. How well is this working for you? I've seen many times where people tell me, we just implemented this new repricer. We just implemented this new agency. We just implemented this. And I'm asking, how's it going? And they're like, well, I think it's good. They're like, what do you say? And I'm like, look, I can look at the P&L 1 month and I can see that, let's say, I can see that you made this month, let's say, $20,000 to $30,000 profit, but that doesn't mean that this is really a good month. What I want to see is, you tell me, what was your best month you had? Let me take the numbers in what you have on your P&L this month. Let me bring it back to the previous month. Let's do a comparison. And that's when we see the real results. So I'll give you an example. I'm looking at a certain product, and this is actually a report that ConnectBooks built out. And this is what I said before. We built out this report with $70 million sellers. And the reason why this is so eye-opening is you see in July and you have January. We took July, compared it to January. With July, we did more sales. However, the reason why we did July more sales is you see very simple. We dropped the price. The price was 68 and went down to 47. So it sold more quantity and the price dropped as well. Now you see also the profit dropped off drastically. The ad spend is actually more, which is concerning. If you see the ad spend is $5,000, like really, meaning usually if it's this is another clue that I've heard, if the product is at a cheaper price, ad spend should be less. So ad spend should not really be more. In this case, I would say the ad spend should be lower than a more expensive product. So there's a lot more to analyze and a lot more to look into it. So whenever you're like making a new change in your business and you're deciding, okay, and especially in today's field where it's so evolving, coming from the high of COVID to the low to back up. And, these days I would say quite a lot of sellers are running through some tough times. And what you want to do is you want to be ahead of the game. You want to constantly implement new changes, and you want to, try to find new ideas, whether it's repricing, whether it's ads, whether it's different keywords, whether it's moving up the price and moving down the price. What I've seen also different times is somebody took a product from $35 to $30. And what ended up happening was they actually made more money because since the product was cheaper, it sold more, PPC was less, and the profit was actually higher. In this case, they dropped the price a little too low, meaning the price is very, very low, meaning they went from 68 to 47 and they took a huge hit. And you see it affects the profit as well, big time too as well. So it could be maybe they should sell less, maybe they should keep back the price up. So every time you make changes, the question is, how do you know that this is a good change? How do you keep track of all your changes? How do you keep track of it? Like, I decide tomorrow I'm doing something, but okay, fine, that's very nice. But the question is, how do I backtrack? How do I make sure the decision I implemented is the proper decision? What do I mean? Do I pull a million different reports? No. The answer is you want to compare. And the same way as I hired my first employee, I thought it was amazing. When I hired the second employee, I compared the two of them, and then I saw the first one was not good, and I just stuck with the second one. And that helps me throughout my business process. And every time I do it, any employee I hire today, I mean, if it's a brand new position, then I really won't know. So I would usually like benchmark, have like a certain goal, what I want to hit. And if I don't hit that goal, I know it's a problem. But if it's not a new position, I can always compare to the previous person and see the differences, and that will shed a ton of light. And the same as with your products. You want to take every single product, compare month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year, season over season to see. And in ConnectBooks, we enable this with a click of a button. So what we want to see is the art of the comparison. So now we're going to focus more from a different angle. So first thing is, why? Let's just dive in a little deeper. So first thing is, what is a great metric? And that's always the $1 million question people ask. Someone asked me, like, I made last month $50,000 profit. Is that good profit or bad profit? And the answer is, I don't know. Because what I would do is, I would say, if it's a brand new business, then we would have some targets and places to hit. But if you're already in business for 2 or 3 years, what you want to do is you want to look at your P&L by month, go over your numbers and see, okay, that month we hit $100,000. This month we only did 50. What did we do different? And there you want to start comparing all the numbers. You want to look at the business as a whole. Did the sales drop? Did the ad spend go up? Did other fees go up? So you want to be able to analyze your profits from a good month and see the difference. And what I'm saying is, I go back before, you don't know what a good month looks like till you see a bad month. Meaning to say, if your business is always moving up every single month, then you're doing well. But if you want to make sure it's a good month, you want to know what is a good month, and you want to share this with your employees and share with the people around you to build something that you should constantly move the way up. Is the way to do it is to constantly look on what's a good month and how to work on that route, so you understand that we want to benchmark constantly towards that month. So what do we want to do is we want to measure cost of goods sold. Now, one of the things is we're going to talk about, we have private label business, non-private label businesses. So let's compare the different methods. So we have a few different methods of comparing cost of goods sold. Now, what is cost of goods sold? So cost of goods sold is you want to make sure that when you run a profit and loss in your accounting software, you want to make sure that you have the proper cost of goods sold for the products you sold. Cost of goods sold means that let's say I buy a product for $5 and I sell it on Amazon for 10, so the cost of the product is 5. Now, when we put in our P&L cost of goods sold, we don't put in $5. What we do is we put in what we sold. So let's say in that month it didn't sell, it doesn't get expensed. We put it into an inventory. End of the month, we look at what's sold, and based on what was sold, is at that point we take that dollar amount out of inventory and we expense it. So I've seen a few different methods what other sellers have been doing, and what I put together here is just like a comparison of different methods, how to compare cost of goods sold, meaning to say, and how to analyze your business from a whole to understand the numbers better. So one option will be for percent of sales, which I've seen a lot of people do it that way. It's more common in the wholesale retail industry, meaning in wholesale, like people buying a lot. But what I've seen is that they would say, okay, based on, let's say, $100,000 in sales, we would say that our cost of goods sold is around 40%. So they would say we did this month 100,000 on Amazon. We'll take $40,000 out of inventory, put into cost of goods sold. The other option is this would be more focused for private label businesses that enter each PO in accounting software. So let's say, for example, if you're bringing it from China a container, you would have every PO itemized, properly entered into an accounting software. So that's how every time each product sells, we know the exact cost what to take out. So for example, if you're buying a product, let's say from China, you bring it in, it's costing you $10. You want to have in your accounting software a cost of $10, taking it out, and meaning every time the product sells, we take $10 out of inventory, put into cost of goods sold. So that would be the second option. Third option would be you can use a software like ConnectBooks, which you can take your price lists and all the other stuff. Like if you have a lot of different products and it's getting very time consuming to take all these costs and upload it, meaning and manually enter it into an accounting software, you can just take all your prices and your POs and just upload it to ConnectBooks. So let's go into 3 different methods more in detail. So first option is percent of sales. Percent of sales means to say that we look at how much sales we did in total, and we say based on our sales volume, and we know what our markup is, we know what our margin is, this is how much money we want to take out of inventory and put in as an expense, put into cost of goods sold. The second option would be where we go into a PO. Now, what is the difference between what is the benefit of using? The benefit of using percent of sales is a very easy method. It will literally take you 2 minutes to do your calculations because you figure out once what your percent is and you use it. The problem with it is it's not accurate at all. The second option you want to do is enter each PO in accounting software. Now, this could be an option that you can take every time you create a purchase order. You would enter it in QuickBooks, like in a proper accounting software, and every time the product sells, you take it out of inventory. Now, that is more of a time-consuming effort. It depends on the size of the business. If you have like 4 to 5 invoices a month, or maybe 2 containers a month, it can be very easy. If you have more than that, it will take you more time, and it would be 100% accurate. So that's more of a time-consuming method, but that's, I would say, the best. The third option is something that's very easy, which you can just take your cost, bring it to ConnectBooks, you can upload it, and then ConnectBooks will know exactly what the cost of every single product. That's very easy to do. You're talking around 5 minutes a month, and that would give you 99% accuracy. So that would give you 99% accurate. So what I would say is you need to kind of see which parts you need to focus on. And then based on that, mean to say, how, do you want to get it in there? And then you would compare, which ones of these are the proper ones to choose. And you can see over here, what I'm trying to bring out is that when you compare different methods and you compare different time frames, different value, it kind of brings a different clarity that you won't find anywhere else. So if I were to, and let's jump into more on the business performance as a whole. So if we're going to go into, let's say, for example, you look at your profit and loss. So we can go 2 options. We can say let's celebrate if the business made $10,000 in profits, right? So this month the business made 10,000. We could decide to celebrate and say, wow, this is such a good month. The other option is we can take your profits and compare it to a good month, and that's how we can benchmark the results. So what I'm going to show you here is two profit and losses in QuickBooks. We have on the top the same, on the left side, we have a regular profit and loss, $711,000 in sales, and we have a gross profit that's before overhead, before everything, we have 231,000 sales. So, I mean, it's a very nice number, and we can say, wow, this is a really good number. And we can say, no, wow, it was very good. It was the best it can be. The other option is you can go back and compare it to January and say, wow, in January, we actually did the same amount of sales, but we actually made additional $40,000 in profit. And this will start to spin your wheels. This will start to spin your mind. And this is going to go like, hey, something is off here. And you have line by line, which you would see like right away. Okay, fulfillment fees went up. Wow. Okay, what can we do about that? Maybe something that's oversized, maybe something going on there. Commission actually stayed more or less the same. Cost of goods sold went up. Actually, cost of goods sold went up by a little bit, not too much, but what can we do on that end? And promotions also went up. So what this does is, by comparing the results and having it properly accurate in a way where, with a glance, you see what's going on, this will bring you clarity that you're not going to find anywhere. And every single time, whenever I talk to any seller, and we deal with over 1,000 customers, anytime I talk to anybody, and I do a comparison, I always leave them speechless. Always, because I always bring up questions, and I'm like, why was this much? Why is this going this much? Why is this? Why is that? And they always like, we don't know. We're going to check. We're going to get back to you. So you're always going to, by comparing the results of one particular month to the previous month, that's going to give you a whole new insights, which you never had. And in these days, what I'm saying is that the economy is changing so rapidly. Things are going up, things are going down on such a fast pace that we don't even know how to like stay behind it. And when you can actually take each month and compare it to the good months and the other months, you can see exactly where you need to focus on. And this is the perfect example. If I were just to tell you July is good, you'd have said, wow, okay, 230 looks good. It looks good. But this can be an indicator that, hey, something is going on with the fulfillment fees. I better look into that. I better start getting this now in detail on a product level and see which products the fulfillment fees are going on. What is causing the difference? And you want to catch the mistakes early on. You don't want to wait till this is 4 months down the line, till the business is not making any money, and then kind of saying, oh no, what do we do now? So this is really what I call the art of the comparison. And this is something been the latest focus on our end. And this is what I would say a lot of our customers are asking for us. And in ConnectBooks, we have built out comparison reports, which I've had in the first slide, which would give you, break down product by product, compare any type of way you want. Meaning, do you want to compare this month to last month? Do you want to compare this year to last year? Do you want to compare January to July? And you can, it's very robust. We have all different options of comparing it, and that will highlight the differences and show you, the trends of how it's moving around. And then by using ConnectBooks, besides to, having the accurate cost of goods sold, having all the information properly in QuickBooks, one of the other things you can do in QuickBooks is do the same thing from the business as a whole. So if you want to see why you're not making what you used to make, or why there's less cash in the bank, all that information, you'll be able to go into QuickBooks, do a proper comparison of 1 month versus any other month. Now, in order to do the proper comparison, one of the things you need to do is make sure the books are done right in a proper fashion. And, either you could spend hours, putting in all the numbers, or you just hook up a software like ConnectBooks, which automates everything in 5 minutes and just pulls everything straight into QuickBooks. And then you get a P&L looking like this, which will give you everything straight out, comparing all that. So what we have is, for anybody who wants to hear more about our comparison reports, you can visit our website, connectbooks.com, and use the code postpurchase2. You'll get 25% off for the first 6 months. This is limited to the first 25 signups. For large volume sellers who want to get some, who want to get some white glove service and get some, we can offer like we're talking real large sales, like anything 50,000 orders and above, want to get like good pricing, they can just email our sales rep, mo@connectbooks.com, and they'll be happy to take care of you and help you with whatever you need.
All right. Thank you for sharing, my friend. So just reassure everyone here, we're not getting paid for this code, right? Like we don't accept commissions.
What? Sorry, I didn't hear the last word.
I said Seth and I in Post Purchase Pro, we do not accept affiliate commissions from our partners. So the fact that you used a PPP code, I just want you to reiterate for the audience that we do not accept money from you, right?
No, I've never been sending, and it's not on the horizon.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure. So any questions today about this exciting subject of accounting?
I love it because it's where the profit is. Thank you so much for sharing. This has been great. Let's see here.
It's literally what I could say is in the last year, like stuff have been changing and moving up and down like crazy. Like you're like unable to just keep up with today's trends. And a lot of sellers are going through tough times. It is not the best time, out there. But what I do see is that if you're a good seller, meaning to say if you have a good product, your product solves a problem, those people are able to stick it out and make it, even in the times when the economy changes. And one of the things is you want to just do is understand on a deep level, like what is changing, how are things moving, where can I cut, where can I expand, how can it move around? And by just comparing the results, that just gives you the most insights possible.
Yeah, I love it. You're absolutely right. So thank you so much for sharing that wealth of knowledge. I know you've spent so much time studying this stuff to figure all that out. Plus, then having a frame of reference with all the sellers that you work with gives you a unique insight into what we should be looking for, especially like one of the topics that people always want to talk about right now is, yes, I'm making sales, but like, how do I increase my profitability? So this has been really good.
Well, thank you for taking the time out and hanging out with the group today. Hopefully we'll see you on the future one.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, Sean. So I just want to remind everybody of our announcement that we had in the very beginning. So let's go through it. If you haven't heard, or if you didn't hear us say it at the very beginning,
closing the doors.
Post Purchase Pro is at capacity. We are not taking new clients as of right now. The reason why is because there are too many sellers that need our help, and we can't do all of the work at the level that we demand of ourselves. So we are closed to outsiders. But I am bringing good news. We are going to share the entire email and text follow-up system with you on October 25th. We're going to share exactly how we use email and text marketing and WhatsApp groups to massively boost Amazon sales, increase our profit margins, drive high-quality external traffic, increase the value of our brands and businesses, launch products successfully every single time, get tons of TOS compliant product reviews, increase repeat orders and cross sales. How do we relaunch struggling products, get our products ranked in Amazon search for more sales, lower our overall PPC cost, and all of the secret strategies that makes all this possible and turns your business into a profit gushing machine that we have never shared before. So if you want in before it's full, because it's not our fault, but Zoom actually limits us. We cannot have a max amount of people in here because Zoom will not allow it. You can get in before Zoom caps out at postpurchasepro.com/revealed, or you can scan that QR code to make sure that you get in before we are full. We're only going to do this once as far as we plan currently. So get in while you can. Postpurchasepro.com/revealed. Sean, anything else before we jump out of here?
No, I just want to make sure people understand that it's not that we're turning our back on the community. Instead of turning our backs on the community, we're literally just opening up all our internal processes for you, because this is so important. You're leaving so much money on the table by not following up with your customers. And everywhere I go, Seth, everybody I speak to, all the events, virtual and otherwise, everyone says, oh my gosh, where have you been? We need this. I mean, we literally have hundreds of people on a waiting list and we can't help you all. So the next best thing, let me just give you the keys to the vault. We're going to give you the tools. We're going to give you the information that you need to do this on your own. literally giving you our internal SOPs that our staff uses to work with our agency clients. It's the best gift I can give you, right? So show up on this webinar, and we're going to unveil it all and tell you exactly how to get this going in your business. Of course, you're going to have to do this yourself, but we absolutely, positively cannot accept any new clients at this time. We've just grown way too fast, way too big, and we need a little breathing room. So instead of kicking you to the curb, we're just going to give you all the tools that you need to do it. So all of our hard work becomes yours in just a few, probably less than 90 minutes.
There you go. All right, everyone. Thomas says, thank you, Seth and Sean. You're welcome. We'll see everyone there. And I'm sure we'll see you either in your inbox or in a WhatsApp group before then. But guys, thanks for hanging out on another Post Purchase Pro monthly masterclass. We'll see you all soon. You're welcome, Chad. We'll see you soon too. All right. See you.
We love doing these things. We never charge for it. We're never going to charge for it. So keep coming back and keep meeting cool people and highly effective strategies from the industry, experts, mentors from around the world. We're always going to do this 1 month, each month at a time. And hopefully you'll get some value out of this. If you do, just show a little love. Send it to cs@postpurchasepro.com. Send an email. Let us know what you think. Follow us on Facebook. Go to YouTube. Seth and I are dropping bombs on YouTube on the weekly, right? At Post Purchase Pro. And, find our books on Amazon. Just search for Seth Stevens. You'll see everything you need. See you guys next month.
See you guys.